What is up? What is up? Welcome to the weekend. Welcome to the thrift store. Welcome to the first Friday night variety live at TspTv. Maybe the first, maybe the last. Who knows? But welcome to the 7-year-old that have arrived on time tonight. Unlike yesterday when we only had 3 people, one of which was Nancy, who never leaves, it seems. And just furthermore, the theory is that she is an algorithmic Autobot that is here in disguise to purple heart emoji mind control monarch us up. Welcome, J Mad. Time for a smoke. Yeah, that's just what I did before. Glad to see you. And we've also got Mrs. Owl, hopefully not naked and alone in front of the big screen. We're teasing you, Mrs. Owl. Glad that you made it back on time tonight. So maybe yesterday did interest you enough to indulge your Friday night with me and the rest of the crew here at the thrift store. Welcome, one and all. So usually, as the case can be, it's always 4:20 at the thrift store. JMad, you notice I do got your number, but I don't got any credit on my phone right now in order to call you. But don't worry, we will get round to that at some point in the not so distant future. So anyway, welcome, as I said, to Friday night TspTv Variety Friday. It is the weekend. Thought I'd try a little bit something new, something we did touch upon during 2 weeks of tea. But anyway, let's get the thumbnail out the way for you. There you go, and there I am. It's very dark and dingy here in the thrift store tonight. I don't know why it seems darker than normal, but I like the darkness. It is my faithful friend. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So, as I said, it is the weekend. We are trying to do a little something new here. And I almost had a burp. Always the pre-show coffee smoke routine ritual. That's not really... that doesn't cut it. Sorry, baby Pamplin, if or not you are here. But as I said, I did try to put something together a little different for Friday night, just so it's not always feature presentations, learning information, maybe listening to me drone on and on about boring articles that some of you only pretend to be interested in, but a lot of you are seemingly showing a little bit more interest in enjoyment in That Was Half. Okay, baby, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert just for you. Because I know you haven't been with us. We've been in your pocket the last 2 nights while you've been lurking in those damn patients, those pesky patients, keeping you occupied when you should be able to fill your occupational hours listening to the thrift store prepper TspTv and hanging out with the crew. But we always do like to feel the security of knowing that we are in your pocket. But stay tuned, darling. There's something just for you in tonight's TspTv Variety. But as I said, I'm trying to sort of mix it up, change it up. As you may or may not know, some of you followers of TspTv for quite some time now, I have more than one trick up my sleeve, and dare I say, I'm not just a one-trick pony, and I do have a vast variety of useless information and knowledge. Hi, Alan Habs, glad to see you here. And dare I say, some kind of pop culture trivia knowledge also. And all of these things are what sort of kind of makes me me, and what I'm trying to do is incorporate what makes me me, and what I've made is part of the thrift store, and you guys out there have made part of the thrift store what it is. So I'm trying to sort of share again a little bit more of it, what's behind the face. Once upon a time we just had hands and good old ramen noodle. Something's falling down in the studio. Not to worry, I can arrange that. But that was how it all started once upon a time. Now, last week, during 2 weeks of tea, which was the final week, we did 2 weeks of special streams, and part and parcel was to get me back up into sort of some kind of regularity, get a little bit of a routine going, and sort of get some kind of structure to my otherwise structureless existence nowadays. And due to the fact that I am no longer essential, I don't have a day job anymore, I've kind of took upon the thrift store as my job, and putting a lot more time and effort into it nowadays than I once did when I used to do this as like a little side gig, part-time hobby type of deal. And that is kind of why back then in the early humble days when I only had 2 days off a week, the videos were a little bit crude, unedited, unfiltered. Now they're still not edited in the sense that I kind of chop and change and script or any of that stuff. It's still very much the essence of what was once Thrift Store Prepper, that then become TspTv. Welcome, Devil. Glad to see you. And TspTv is a lot easier to say each and every intro and opening to a video than welcome to the Thrift Store Prepper. And again, I don't have the ability to say T's with my regional dialect. 10 figures. There was like a quarter of a burp. So already add those to the list, baby P. There's another one, so maybe we've got a whole one in those 3 disappointing burps, but stay tuned. But as I was saying, when I didn't have the time, I had a daytime job and I was working like 50, 60, sometimes 70 hours a week in the kitchen. It didn't really leave me much time to relax, recharge, as well as put some of the humble efforts that I used to upload on my channel. But during that time, I think the most fun we had was during the live shows, and that's kind of how the thrift fam community, or the thrift type, delicious, mouth-watering at the thought of a little bit of cooked elk there. Lucky you, Devil. But what was I saying? That's part of why I put these presentations together. But it was the live experience, I think, that sort of drew the community and the thrift fam spirit together. And during that first ever spring break of 2019, I think we all kind of bonded and formed the foundations of the thrift fam community. And together we have grown since then. Welcome, Glynis. You are also one of those founding, contributing pillars of the thrift store community here, so I was glad to see you on a Friday. But back during, as I said, 2 weeks of tea, I sort of put it upon myself to get into a routine and regularity of doing this, maybe putting a little bit more effort into TspTv than I ever did before. And as I said, I would like maybe at some point in the future, maybe not to make TspTv my living, but I do kind of found an enjoyment in editing and sort of, I dare I say, making crude films. I'm a crude basic filmmaker, and I make my films on my cell phone with free technology. Something I do kind of have some intentions, if the interest would be there, as part of TspTv Variety, is kind of do a behind the scenes thrift store, how to make your own sort of shit video productions for yourself, in case some of you, and I know during this spring break we had a little bit of discussion about maybe some of you guys might want to start your own YouTube channels and bring your own shit video productions, and we can kind of form a little bit of a thrift store network, and this is a little bit kind of where we're going tonight. But as I said, during spring break 2019, I was sort of faced with some unforeseen obstacles and difficulties to overcome, in which I lost literally both of my cellular phones, my devices that I did kind of have all my TSP files and what I use for recording, editing, and streaming. One got destroyed beyond obliteration, and that was the phone that I called the thrift phone, and that had a lot of files and thumbnails and all sorts of things that I had that I used to use back then. But during sort of spring break 2019, it was part of the early days of the pandemic. No one really knew how much longer it was going to go on for, though some of us did suspect it was never going away back then. But I did try to sort of put together, because the live shows are a little bit more fun, or get a little bit more reaction and interaction than my uploads. I was trying to figure a way how I can try to incorporate sort of videos, live feed, community interaction, chatting, all into one sort of part and parcel. But over the summer, went out, enjoyed myself, got more sun than I ever have in some time, didn't have to work, didn't have to go to kitchens and make Caesar salads. So, you know, I kind of did put Thrift Store TV and TspTv in my plans a little bit on the back burner, and brought you this sort of impromptu tea and friends. We also went out to some of the lockdowns, went down to the lake a lot of times, brought you what I consider was the summer sort of entertainment or programming or broadcasting, should I say, but brought a lot of different content and made available what sort of resources and stuff I had on hand. And again, used some of the equipment that I put together as part of my bug out bag and EDC that I made from items off of either eBay or from the dollar store down at the beach. We had some campouts, cooked some prison ramen, took my pantry items down there, and kind of did do a bit of a real-time, demonstration of how the stuff that I have used and put together in the first year of TspTv actually was, purposeful, and it will function in an emergency. It may not be the best of equipment, but it certainly served its purpose. And for pennies on the dollar, it's a little bit like car insurance. Why pay over the odds on something that you may or may not have to need? But first year I built my pantry up. Second year we sort of tried to sort of broaden our horizons. And coming out of the first spring break, I started to bring more and different content. And back again to last week, or the last 2 weeks, when we did 2 weeks of tea every night for 14 days, I brought you themed content. Not only that, I made a specific intro for each and every stream to try and make the intro a little bit interesting, and maybe in some cases tell the story of what we're going to be talking about in the feature presentation. And I actually do really enjoy this. But one of the ideas I kind of come up with was maybe one night I want to sort of try and experiment at having my own TV channel, and by that, making a variety of different programs like the videos I used to upload, but kind of put them together tonight like a TV network schedule. So you tune in at 9 and there'll be one program, maybe 9:30 another program, then 10 and 11 I was planning to bring two sort of 1 hour specials, or maybe four 30-minute shows, somehow to make a 3 hour lineup of programs for the evening with a little bit of variety. So we'd start off with something light-hearted, then may have something informative, and then the main event for Variety was Project Thrift Store, the Thrift Files, which was something I thought that we could all work together on. Some of you guys out there do like your conspiracies. That's why some, I talk about them. That's why I guess some of you do tune in. And in the last few weeks, we've been delving and diving in some very deep and dark rabbit holes of conspiracy, Tavistock, and of course JFK. Those were the most popular of all the streams during 2 weeks of tea, and I think those kind of really did start setting the bar for the level of ship video productions that TspTv will be planning to bring you. That coffee, we're up to 12 now. So Glenn, this is what I'm saying, guys. Conspiracies are your thing, and this is what the opportunity lays to you. And I will sort of reiterate this again, that Project Thrift Store is something that I want the community, or would like. I don't want to say I want. I'm not making demands. I'm not like a hostage negotiation situation here. But it would be nice if some of you guys who are into conspiracies and like conspiracies, and yesterday Glynis and I think it was No Jeep, my goodness, you guys were really like boom, 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 question after question after question, which is excellent. Maybe save those questions, write them down, do a little looking up to them, and then send me the information. Or if you want, we can try and get you on the phone or something. We can record it. We don't have to do it live, and I can edit together a program, what will be the Thrift Files, and a little bit like Scooby-Doo, I guess. We can be like, clue hunters, mystery solvers, that kind of thing. And maybe, during the winter months, some of us lonely old souls, it gets off Facebook and social media, liking and sharing, saying amen and copying and pasting bunnies, that sort of stuff, and maybe get the mind working again. And this is what sort of has been a benefit for me as a result of putting all this together, is my mind's working again. Sometimes it doesn't stop. But as I said, that might be something that will help you. Some of you do get the winter blues. Some of you are a little bit depressed. Some of you, like myself, may be non-essential and finding yourself wanting something to do with yourself each and every day. So you know what? Why not spend an hour or maybe 30 minutes? Think to yourself, you know what? I'm going to just go and do a little bit of research and maybe look up something T was talking about last night in his stream, and maybe contribute that towards the Project Thrift Store. And it's a little group thing, something we could possibly be a little bit proud of together. And some of you guys, a little bit like in school in science projects. If you really want, you can buddy up and work on it together. But that was sort of what I want for the sort of headline of TspTv Variety Friday. And up until then, I may bring you a different sort of experimentation, sort of pilot shows, as well as some familiar content on there. So let's have a little look who else we got. Giggles, you arrived. Kelly Kibo, welcome Kelly Kibo to the thrift store. So it's always good to see you, Kelly, my sweet. Now you, of course, were one of the sort of, in a little bit, what I'm sort of trying to get at is you were one of the individuals that was a guest caller, and you come to me with your story about your experience of straight, and you were a guest caller live, and it was one of the better shows I've done. It's probably in the top 10 shows, and again, that was a little bit of setting the bar, something I'd like to do. So if you're somebody like Kelly as well that has an experience or a story that is relevant to conspiracies or prepping or whatever it is, then hit me up and maybe we can, this is a little bit what I want to do with knowing knowing you. So do some interviews like a chat show type thing. So if any of you guys want to sort of get in, do something a little bit like that. And if you haven't seen that stream, Kelly, she will tell you herself, hopefully, that that was a very enjoyable experience. And some of you that did watch on with that, I think also it was a little bit eye-opening in many respects. And you did, Nancy, thank you, darling. So I do got something of Project Thrift Store tonight. That is the headline, and I also got a few other things lined up for you in between and leading up to that as part of Variety Friday. Unfortunately, I was kind of like 2 days ahead of myself, a little bit like the rabbit and the tortoise story. That I was a little bit ahead of myself up until sort of Wednesday night, and then somehow I got all the time in the world, and then all of a sudden all the time in the world turned into shit. I've got 4 hours before we go live tonight, and I've got an intro and 20 minutes of footage. So everything you are going to see tonight was thrown together at last minute, and if or not it is a little bit glitchy and not as smooth as I hoped, please forgive me, but Shit Video Productions is exactly that, Shit Video Productions. What are you talking about, Gig? You weren't talking to me, Kelly. I'm sorry. Am I distracting you all from your chit chat? And no, that's all good. I like you guys having the community spirit. I'm sure, as I said, that is part and parcel. I think why more people come in and join the thrift store live shows and sort of comment and contribute or pass on information on some of my uploads. But anyway, something else is going on. There seems to be a bit of a loving wet fest or something in there. If you girls are going to make out, please record it, send it to me. Maybe we can have some thrift store after dark where we can bring some X-rated Girls Gone Wild type material for you. But as I was saying, Kelly was somebody who was a guest caller and guest presenter as part of TspTv's attempts to bring you entertainment and also bringing some of you on board as part of that entertainment. And as I said, it was a good show and a very interesting experience that Kelly herself had. So hopefully in the future we can do something like that. But as I said, it is the weekend. I thought, let's try and have something light-hearted for the weekend. Let's not think so much, and let's not sort of bring sort of deep, don't want it to be like you're going to school every night, but I try to make the information as interesting as I can. And the alien agenda stream, oh my goodness, I still haven't quite gotten over what happened there, and if or not that really was some aggressive censorship on behalf of the algorithm, or if that was government agency influence. And bear in mind what we were talking about and how the government were listening to little Elliot and his buddies when they were harboring ET, and how the government went out of their way to stage a big toxic reaction leak during Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It certainly doesn't raise much alarm or ridicule to think that maybe, quite possibly, due to the fact we're suggesting there is going to be a false flag staged alien invasion event in the not so distant future, that the government are going to play their part, and it might not be too Exactly, Bakey P. It was the like, have you ever seen anything like that before? And as we were watching live, you could hear how for a little portion of time my voice was normal, and then they put that echoey effect in, and how they also removed the sound in sort of live real time. And especially at the part in that stream where I was just about to show you a governmental animated dramatization of one of their drills that they carried out in terms of an alien invasion. And the interesting part of that was the aliens, by all accounts, have exactly the same banking structure as us, and they do have to put some kind of financial limitation on any alien invasions to foreign planetary systems. But it was a very, very, very weird night. But that was a very enjoyable stream for me again, because it was aliens and UFO conspiracies and cover-ups that pretty much opened my eyes to governmental involvement in such shenanigans. And I think, again, something that we've all experienced, maybe not like experienced firsthand or had close encounters of our own third kind, but UFOs are something we're familiar of. You know, movies like E.T., TV shows like Alf, The X-Files, Alien Nation, Aliens, Independence Day. All of this has been something that has been part of contemporary pop culture for the duration of our lifetime. We were kids, there were aliens. When we were teenagers, there were aliens, 20s, 30s. Alien entertainment was there. So I thought, you know, that is a good thing, again, that we can all have some kind of common ground and common interest in. But the fact that what happened during that, and with regard to the content we were talking about, that was almost some pretty scary shit. But as I said, we are here in Friday. That is the past. Here we are at the future. And as I said, weird. Thanks for saying it was weird twice, Nancy. There we go. But as we said, it is Friday night. It is TspTv Varietee Friday, a little something we did do a pilot project as part of 2 weeks of tea, where I put together a little hour pilot project of what I kind of had intended and planned for what is now Friday Night Variety. So a little bit, again, one of my sort of influences as a kid, and one of my favorite movies, Weird Al Yankovic, not only for his musical versions, but for the movie he made, UHF, in which he inherited a television station from his uncle, who won it in a poker game, didn't want it here, you have it, nephews, knock yourself out. But somehow, with his ideas, as crazy as they may be, and with his band of even crazier and weirder and more wonderful buddies, he put together a series of programming and become the #1 TV network in his town. And it was sort of the rallying round of the buddies, and they had a telethon, and they started helping men out by making their programs and shows, and he started airing them on his channel. Is a little bit what I kind of trying to incorporate here, trying to sort of pull on my influences, and you guys are there. If you haven't seen Weird Al's UHF, I apologize. I was going to bring a little segment of that tonight as part of the variety to explain more, but that might have to wait till next week. But anyway, 14 are watching now. I did see briefly we had 15, so without any further ado, I'm trying to sort of get this up to around the 30-minute mark, because that is kind of a little bit of what I'm trying to do an opening 30 minutes, have a little chat, listen to what I said. If or not any of you have really been listening to what I'm saying, judging by the comments, there doesn't seem to be that many responses to that, other than Nancy's weird in Becky P's love hearts for the burps. So there are some burps involved in that. Homemade pizza and making peanut butter blossom cookies. So RAB in and out of chat but listening. Well, that's good, and it is sort of getting to that time where people do start to sort of make sort of holiday treats, and maybe sort of making gifts, and possibly without being out of work, or maybe not having the regular income they once do. Maybe this is what will be a lot of Christmases for people, making things as gifts. So as I said, tonight it is TspTv Variety, and as you are in the kitchen, Giggles, then you might enjoy this evening's entertainment, which I am going to get up for you right now. That's the entertainment, nothing else, ladies. Put your dirty minds away, especially you, Mrs. Owl, if you are indeed naked. So what do I need to do now? Turn off my camera. Camera is turned off. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. And again, behave yourself, Mrs. L. And we will start the proceedings almost immediately. So I'm going to turn off the mic, join you in chat, sit back and enjoy, because here we go with TspTv Variety Friday. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tea in the Pantry, 10-minute pantry tips, part of TspTv Variety Friday. And we've gone all old school and a little bit nostalgic and retro in respects to how it all started here at TspTv, with building a budget, low income, low space. You know, if you live in a small apartment or trailer or studio, you've got not much money at your disposal. How do you prep? Well, I come up with what I call Sensi prepping, which is short for common sense or sensible prepping, and that is by buying things that are pretty much meals ready to eat, very similar and very much influenced from rations that I have a little bit of a passion and interest for, and a little bit of a hobby reviewing and bringing those reviews to you as part of the entertainment on and content on TspTv. But as we do begin to strive and grow, and may I say even try to get a little bit more presentable, if not yet professional, but we are trying to bring a lot more of variety of content to TspTv than those early days when all I really did was go to the dollar store once a week and unbag $20 worth of groceries. And had I not done that for nearly the first part of the year, in the first year of TspTv's existence, then I would have probably struggled and gone quite hungry during the second year of TspTv's existence, because lo and behold, the pandemic descended, not the apocalypse some of us dreamed of. Some of us were possibly looking for zombies rising from the dead and having to fend off hordes of them with cool weaponry. Some of us may have expected some sort of aliens or maybe even asteroid type events, and don't rule that out, guys. 2020 isn't over yet, but nevertheless there are various reasons for why we prep. The more realistic reason that I prep is because, you know, in my times and tribulations of traveling and living overseas, literally out of a backpack, paycheck to paycheck, there's often the period of time that has come in that adventurous overseas shenanigans that has been my life for the last 12 years, that I have been out of work and without an income to depend on. How do you feed yourself? Well, usually what I did in those times, and still do where and when I can, until recently, where my income and source of income in my day job did come to an end as part of the pandemic. I am now no longer an essential worker. But in those days prior to the pandemic, and in the days prior to TspTv being a YouTube channel, I was still a little bit of a thrift store prepper, in the means in terms that I used to go to the dollar store, and sometimes with only $10 I could maybe get enough food to at least keep myself for a week. So today I'm going to show you a few items that you can buy for around $1 or less, that are what I consider Sensi items. And by Sensi items, they kind of cover all of your bases. One, you don't need to cook them, you can just eat it from the can. All you will need is a can opener. Make sure you've got a couple of those on hand and you are good to go. So you don't need to cook them, you don't need any additional water or anything like that. They're also going to contain a certain amount of your daily nutritional requirements, be it carbs, fiber and protein, yada yada, whoop-de-woo, ray-tay-tay. And again, if you don't have much money and you don't have much space, it's all about bang for your buck. Slices of peaches are very, very nice, but they don't really contain an awful amount of nutrients to get you through. So let's look at the first two items that I will be bringing you. Before I do, we will remember that we did look at ramen noodles, and ramen is something that is the foundation, pretty much what my pantry is built on. So let's just put a ramen there for good measure, and you can also see up there that was a packet. Let me just zoom you out. You can see on top of the thrift fan fireplace there, actually, if I kind of push it down a little bit, you can see more. But that was the first packet. It wasn't actually the first packet, but that was one of the packets from the first packets of ramen noodles that started my thrifty dollar store micro pantry. Now there is a complete playlist available for you to watch at TspTv as part of the content that is free for you to watch and enjoy at your leisure whenever you want. And please do so. There's a lot of prepping information involved in those that was ever relevant now as it was back then when it was originally uploaded. And sometimes, you know, you don't want to keep uploading the same information, and sometimes if after 50 videos of teaching people how to go to the dollar store and some of the items that they can buy at the dollar store in order to put together a low budget Scentsy pantry, Scentsy micro pantry of their own, you might begin to start thinking, and maybe even forgiven for thinking, that that might be a lost cause. But then again, some people just enjoy watching people unbag groceries. But back to the items of question today. Here are the first two items. Actually, I think we've got three somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Very recognizable things and items, I'm sure, from your supermarket shelves. We've got some SpaghettiOs here. Good old pork and beans, live like a hobo, and also a little throwback and shout out to one of my comic book heroes, Rorschach, which we will be learning about more tomorrow in Watchmen Decoded. Hopefully you will tune in for that tomorrow, Saturday night special event, or main event rather, TspTv, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 if you are on the Pacific. Don't tell me I didn't give you enough notice to tune in on time, 9 p.m. tomorrow Eastern, and I've already said the relevant time zones. I don't need to repeat it. But another item here, good old Chef Boyardee. Now, not exactly the most healthy of things to be living in, I agree. However, we are putting ourselves in an emergency situation, and in an emergency situation, ask yourself this: would you be able to last a little bit longer with these 3 cans of food as opposed to not having these 3 cans of food? And I think the unanimous answer in chat would be yes, you would be able to survive just a little bit longer with these 3 cans of food. Now, in terms of these being kind of sensey items, let's take the pork and beans for example. We have in this 35% of our daily recommended iron intake. We have 10% of our daily recommended calcium intake. Calcium and iron are very important things to be getting into. Also, you will be getting 15 grams of protein. Now, this isn't for the can. This is per serving, which is 250 milliliters. And this is a 398 mil can, 14 ounces. So you get just under 2 servings in this. So you get more, a little bit more than these percentages if you eat the entire can. But if you do eat the suggested serving size, you will get 15 grams of protein. Again, protein, something very, very important. So already we've got 3 things of important contained within our pork and beans. On top of this, we will get fiber, and you also will be tooting a little bit. But I know our little baby P, Pamplin over there, as we nickname her once upon a time, she won't mind too much. Maybe if she is in a doomsday apocalyptic bunker waiting to die, then counting burps and farts as a result of eating cans of beans might go as long way is to fill in a few of those minutes waiting to die. But I don't mean that, baby P. I'd hate to see you in a bunker farting for entertainment. But never mind. 48%. No, sorry. 40% of your, no, it is 48%, my apologies, of your fiber. So nearly 50% of your fiber intake a day contained in a serving of these beans. So sensey. On top of that, you've got carbs. So we've got protein, we've got a carb, and we've got fiber. Not only that, we've got potassium. So 4 good things. We also get a decent amount of sodium, not too much. Sodium is something that you do need in your diet as well. And you also are going to get a little bit of fat, and you are also going to get 310 calories. So it's around about 500, 600 calories for one can. Now add to that 1 packet of ramen, limit the amount of seasoning you use, because that is where the sodium in the ramen comes. That is 1,000 calories, because I do believe a ramen noodle is 390, 400. I should know that offhand, but some are 390, some are 400. So there you go. Around 600 calories in that can. 400 calories there. There's 1,000 calories. That's almost half of your calorie intake a day, plus all the ingredients and goodness that you've got there that do go some way to providing you with some of your nutritional value for the day. Same thing with the mini raviolis. These are a pretty decent item, although you don't get as much protein per serving in this. You do also get your carb, your fiber, and your protein, as well as some potassium. Only 200 calories per serving in this, but you also get some vitamin A, as opposed to not getting any in that. Now another thing you can do is mix cans. So if you really started to get food fatigue, you can maybe add some pork and beans with some SpaghettiOs, or add your pork and beans in with your mini ravioli, and kind of split that into 2 if you were on an absolute low budget, and really didn't have very much to survive. Maybe it come down to your last 3 cans of food. That's probably what I would do. I'd mix them all together, and if I had some ramen left, throw as many ramen packets as I could in to make a bulky meal. Now again, this isn't going to be delicious food. This isn't going to be award-winning food. This isn't going to be the sort of food you want to take pictures of and share to your social media news feed, but it is food that will fill you up, will sustain you, and most importantly, will stop you from going hungry. So there are a few basic, simple, recognizable items that cost less than $1. In some instances, you can get 2 cans of beans for $1. I know at the Dollarama occasionally they do that, and it doesn't really matter if they're branded or not branded. They're pretty much the same thing on the inside. Now, talking of beans, another item, and probably a little bit more sensy than this when we talk about bangs for your buck, is more beans, and you can get a variety of beans. These happen to be the black turtle beans, but you can get kidney beans, pinto beans, black eye beans, all sorts of beans for around $1 or less at your store. Now again, you can see here the comparison. We've got 398 mil as opposed to 540. So bang for your buck, this is your better buy than this. And maybe if you've got some ketchup, condiments and stuff like that, you can squirt some of that in there and maybe sort of get it to taste a little bit like that. But bang for your buck is what we're talking about. So this, you know, you could live or make that into, split it in half, have 2 days worth of food. And again, you can just mix that with a ramen, and a ramen doesn't take an awful lot of water to hydrate. You don't need to cook it. You can eat it from the packet. If you crumbled that up and just mixed it in with the juice of the beans, it would hydrate itself. But again, this is another item that you can get for less than $1 and contains 20% iron, 8% calcium, 8% vitamin C, 10 grams of protein, Fiber, you get 44% of your daily requirement, 9% of your carb requirement, only 3% sodium, and you will get 150 calories. So more calories in this, but more nutrients in that, and a larger serving. And again, combining the two, maybe mixing some in with your spaghettios or some in with your bean ravioli, it's all good in your hood, and can go a long way to stopping you from starving to death. Similar to the beans, other items that I can't recommend enough, again, less than $1. Lentils, chickpeas, again, an awful lot of goodness in these. And I would also recommend buying canned over dried, because the amount of water you will need not only to wash and rinse the dried beans in order to make them edible before you cook them, because you've got to kind of rinse off all the starch and such forth, but you do need to rinse them off, and then you also will need an awful lot of water to cook them if you are cooking dried beans, chickpeas or lentils, and then you will also need the required amount of fuel in order to sustain and maintain the heat through the cooking process. But these chickpeas, for a serving, and again you get 2 servings, actually over 2 servings. So this one can will give you, and I'm trying to double it up and do the math off the bounce, will give you 50% of your iron for a day for the entire can, right? If you ate just 1 can a day, you would get half of your iron intake. You're going to get 6% calcium. You're going to get 20 grams of protein, pretty decent amount of protein there. You're going to get over 100% fiber. You're going to get 104%, although you can't get more than 100 and 100% by definition. But anyway, you're going to get all your fiber requirements from 1 can of chickpeas. You're also going to get 26 grams of carbs, or 26% rather of your daily carbs, which is going to be close to 80 grams. So sensey as fuck. And this also has over 500 calories per can. And again, mixing it with some ramen and adding a little bit of the seasoning packet to that will give you a pretty nutritious and filling meal, if not the most delicious meal. And we'll have a quick look at the nutritional value on lentils. Again, you're going to get 35% iron per serving. So for the whole can, you're going to get 75% iron. You're going to get 2% calcium, 4% vitamin C. That's for half a can. Double those up. Doubling it up for the protein, you're going to get 24 grams for the entire can, as well as 48% of your fiber. Again, very high fiber content in beans, lentils and chickpeas. Very sensy item. Can't have enough beans in your pantry as far as I'm concerned, or these kind of grainy seedling type things, because you can actually, the dried ones, you can plant them and they should grow. Bean plants on them. They are in fact seeds, and seeds and nuts and stuff are where we do get a lot of our aminos from, unlike plants where we can't really digest the nutrients contained within them. But you're also going to get like fiber, we've already said that, 48%. You're going to get 18% carb for the entire can. A lot of sodium in that, but again, you know, we do need a little bit of sodium, not so much on the fat. And the entire can has over 300 calories. One last and final item that you can pick up for $1 or less, or maybe a couple of cents over, another super item in Sensei item, potatoes. And this was actually a dented can. And a little tip is, sometimes go and see if it is for your pantry at your grocery store. They sometimes have cans that are dented, and as a result they might be a little bit cheaper, so always keep an eye out for those. And in these we get not so much on the iron content, only 3% of your requirements. You get 2% calcium, and potassium of 5%. Cholesterol, you are going to get none. Unfortunately, the protein in some of those facts, as you can see there, have been a little bit damaged. Can't read them or make them out. But they do contain a little bit of protein, carb, fiber, all that stuff. You get everything from not everything, but you get an awful lot from your potatoes, and this is why a result of there was so much death during the Irish potato famine, because the Irish people did used to eat a lot of potatoes, as did the English back in my homeland, native country. That was what I was raised on, meat and potatoes, and still really to this day I do live off of meat and potatoes. Now, for $10, less than $10, you can get those 7 cans. Now, that's 1 can of food a day for 1 week. Now, for less than 10 or for $10, you could then additionally add around 10 to 15 packets of ramen noodles, depending on the cost where you are. But they are often on offer at stores, and you can sometimes pick them up for around 10 cents. Although someone did post something in the TspTv Clubhouse about a ramen shortage. But for $10, you can get 15 ramen and these 7 cans of food. Now, again, if you kind of combine all of the cans into one pot, throw 7 packets of ramen into that pot, that will fill you up. That's your supper. And then for lunch, you could have the leftover ramen as a soup. So that's lunch and dinner a day for 7 days. And again, you would have to sort of portion that out for the 7 days, but you will be getting a lot of your nutrients and requirements, maybe not all of them or all of your calories, but that will give you 2 meals a day and stop you from starving to death and stop you from going totally hungry for $10. So there you go, guys. This was going to be a 10-minute tip. It did turn out to be nearly 20, but never mind. Sometimes when the camera does roll, it does tend to overrun. So no time restraints, no limits, really and truly. I make my own rules and guidelines here and deadlines. So without further ado, I'm going to wrap this up because I really do need to start a crack on and edit all of the final pieces of TspTv Variety Friday, which you are enjoying now, because at time of recording it still is in pieces and yet to be put together. So fingers crossed we can make it on time. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching Tea in the Pantry, part of TspTv Variety Friday, and hopefully you enjoyed this little nostalgic throwback and shout out to yesteryear at the thrift store, how it all started. So see you in the next episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tea in the Kitchen, part of TspTv Variety Friday, and we are going to be putting together a little simple meal. Some of you may be all too familiar and fond of a good old bacon cheeseburger, but what we're going to be doing today is making some bacon wrapped cheeseburger, which is pretty much exactly the same thing, except we are going to be wrapping the patties with some bacon. So without any further ado, we've got some beef here, which we will open, and I will show you a couple of kitchen tips. Some kitchen tips will also feature in this episode. Look at that, it's like a double feature. And we will cut open our bacon. Although I do remember I'm not in the kitchen, professional kitchen, where I'm using household devices that aren't necessarily as sharp. So I'm going to take some bacon here. I'm going to take 2, 3, 4 pieces. Actually save that bit, that would be good for later. You know what, I'm actually going to take 2 pieces and I'll show you why exactly. Now I'm going to put the bacon to the side, but more of the stuff's in the pan. I'm going to show you some tips what we do with our bacon once we've finished it. So what I'm going to do now is cut it in the middle. Now I'm going to go like this and like this. And you'll see why momentarily. I'm not going to use all of the ground beef. We are going to try and make around about a 2-ounce patty. So we're just going to grab some like this, and all we're going to do is kind of squish it, and you should know exactly how to make a burger. And I like to squish it as much as I can. I do have a pan getting warm in the background, so once our patty is ready, like this, I'm going to kind of put it there. We can kind of shape it a little bit, and if I get my magic seasoning, just give it a little shake. There we go. It's actually not magic, it's from the store-bought stuff. My stuff, my magic seasoning blend, I've used all up, unfortunately. And we're going to do exactly the same on this side. Squish it, get it nice and kind of amalgamated. Once we've got a good patty shape, then what we're going to do is put that there. But while we are doing that, I'm going to get a couple of buns and throw in the pan just to kind of get a little toasty while we are finishing off our preparations. Let's turn the pan up a little bit. So again, let's squash that down. You know what? I actually think that's a little bit too much. Let's take some out. That's all good. I can make another one for another day. And that's what it's all about, sort of making preparations and making the most out of your meals. This beef actually, there was on offer from Walmart. I think you got two 450 gram packages for $8. So I'm going to try and make as many burgers as I can. So what we do then is just take the bacon, kind of stretch it over like this, and kind of mash it into the top of the patty. And you can kind of stretch it and fiddle around with it as much as you like. And you know what, there's an extra piece there, so we're going to put that on the top. So there we go. There's one little bacon wrapped patty, and I like to kind of give it a little bit of a, and that's why you call it a patty, because you give it a pat. And there you can see is our bacon wrapped patty. And we're going to do exactly the same with this one. Swash the fat down into the burger. Now what will happen is all of this beautiful fat, the beef fat, the juices from the fat, the beef and the bacon fat will mix together and give you a wonderful, wonderful flavour. Same thing, just give it a little bit of a pat around. And there are our two patties. Now I do got some tongs. Let's flip over our buns. They are slowly starting to toast. So while I'm doing that, I will just wash my hands. So nothing complicated about this. You don't have to be a chef. You don't have to have any particular intense culinary training whatsoever to squish some meat together. And I'm pretty sure some of you guys have got a lot of experience of handling meat, but we are going to be adding a few more items as we go along. So this isn't just going to be a bacon wrapped cheeseburger. Oh no, we might throw in some mushrooms, and we're also going to simulate some potato au gratin. Yes, it's going to be a triple stacking burger when it is finished. So as I said, I'm just toasting up the buns, and we toast both sides of the bun. Just so it gets a nice crunchiness. So I will get a plate for the bun. Let's put the patties to the side. Put my bun there, and we can dress those later. So let me just bring it over there, look, and you can see the buns are doing nothing but toasting. And there's a pre-seasoned fat pan, and by pre-seasoned, what I mean is it's got a little bit of beef fat left in it from when I cooked some hash browns yesterday. Now you may notice here there's a little tub. Now that isn't butter, ladies and gentlemen. That is my trinity of fats. There is butter, bacon grease and lard combined to make one delicious blend of cooking oil, all the trans fats, all the stuff that they say you shouldn't eat. That is what I eat, and that is why I'm very, very slender, or maybe not, I don't know, might have a good metabolism. But we don't want to toast the buns too much, we just want to give them a little bit of a, drop one there, I don't know if you can see that, just lightly toasted, and we will rest those. So what I am going to do just before, just pop that out of the way, we do toss our patties in. Get the butter and show you what I like to do. And you know what we might actually do thinking about it. So this is a little tip for you. Get your butter like this. You come over to the pan. We'll just do that to prime it. And then it's done. So what I am going to do is just throw our buns back in, because I need to get a little bit of butteriness in there. But that will also add a little bit of flavour to the bacon and the beef as well once that comes in. So let me just move some of this stuff out the way and just pop that there for you. And a little bit of readjusting. That's always a little something to do as well. Stop it burning, keep the pans moving, stops things sticking as well. And what also this is doing is our kind of bread is acting a little bit like a, you know, spreading the fat around. And, not bad. Look, 3 out of 4. And, I was trying to, no, it wasn't going to go. That's what I was trying to do, but unfortunately, when you're live on camera, such things don't happen. I was trying to show off some of my skills. I am trained, I'm self-trained chef, and I have worked in a kitchen for over 10 years, and I despise it. So what we're going to do is the side that we kind of squashed all the meat together. So you can see there we've got a smooth thing, but where we've squashed the meat into the patty, that is the side we are going to put down. And the reason being, that is going to give us a sear. So just give it a little squash down just to enforce that sear, and they will just sizzle away. So once again, we wash our hands. And again, you can give it a little, you can already see some of those juices coming off. Now another little thing I like to do, and this is another T's kitchen tips, everything tastes better with a sprinkle of sugar. So I'm going to get a little bit of sugar here, about half a teaspoon, and just sprinkle on the top of the bacon. Now what this is essentially going to do is make caramelized bacon, but it also will give us a wonderful caramelized crust on the side. Okay, so I've got my tongs and I've got my flipper here. So let's come over to this side once again. So something else we will be adding shortly is cheese, but we're going to add a couple of mushrooms. Just give those a quick wash. And what I'm going to do is go this way. I actually like the stalk. It was always my favourite part as a kid, and it's very surprising. Most people don't like mushrooms, or a lot of people don't like mushrooms. And I was a very finicky eater, which is what kind of taught me to cook, to be quite honest with you, because I didn't really like anything anyone else cooked. But mushrooms were one of the things I did enjoy eating very much. So you can hear now we've got a sizzling going on. Now this is on a medium heat. We don't want to overly cook it. Now the other thing I do have on hand is a par cooked potato. I'm actually going to show you something else we're going to do with these in a second. So I'm going to save that part, put that aside in the pot. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of pre-cooked potato. Now it's up to you if you take the skin off or not. I like the skin because that's kind of where a lot of the nutrients are. And all I'm going to do is make a little bit of room in my one pan. And it is another one pan dish. This is kind of how you can get your meat and your carbs and everything in a veggie all into one delicious, cheesy, gooey, burgery goodness. And what better way to get your nutrients than in a delicious cheeseburger. So we should have a decent enough crust on that, which we pretty much do. So I'm going to give that a flip, and the reason we keep flipping it is because we want to keep the juices inside. So let me just show you a little bit what I've got going on there. Everything's cooking in one pan. So what I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to stack some mushrooms, stack some potato in between layers of cheese. You can see we've got a little crust going on there, and we've also got a crust there, and the fats are coming off nicely. Alrighty, alrighty. I'm just going to put you on pause very briefly, and then we will come back because I'm going to show you how to make some potato salad on the fly. But I need to get some stuff out the kitchen. Although, you know what? If it's on the fly, let's not roll it. So if I can find it, yeah, there they are. So we've got some pickles. Now, as I said, I've already got some there's a little bit of beef there. Let's get rid of that. Some parboiled, pre-cooked potatoes, and what I'm going to do is make some potato salad. So I have here a container which I saved. There's a ready meal from a grocery store which I believe my roommate purchased. So we're just going to chop them up into little small pieces, toss them in there. You can still hear the burger is sizzling in the background, and again like so, and that one kind of broke up on its own, which is all good. So we'll just toss that in. Now ideally I would have put these in a fridge overnight because they kind of get a little bit soft. They haven't long cooked, but I've been running them under cold water to stop the cooking process, and that is something you need to do when you're parboiling things, is stop the cooking process, or it will continue to cook even though you turn the power off. So again, we're going to cut this kind of chunky. It's going to make some nice chunky salad, and again this is all on the fly. Look, let's give our pan a little bit of a spin. Did I already cut that one? I don't think I did. Chunky, chunky potato salad. Very easy. Almost anybody can do this. So parboil them so they're still a little bit firm but soft enough to eat, because you don't want a crunchy potato. That's nothing worse. So sometimes a little softer is sometimes a little bit better. What am I going to do? Where are my tongs? Flip those. And one of the burgers has gone a very peculiar shape and has fallen to pieces unbelievably, but never mind. Sometimes these things happen when you film live and on the fly. It's going more like a meatball, but one patty is doing pretty well. Let's give it a flip. Again, we will come back to that in a while. No need to watch what that is doing. So as I said, I've got another 2 potatoes here. Now you could also add to this a boiled egg if you really wanted to. Make egg and potato salad, which I do sometimes do quite a lot. But not this time. Now I also realise I'm going to have a struggle with the pickle jar. So I've got wet hands and arthritis. Not the best combination for pickle jar opening. So we might be on... Yeah, that's not opening easily. It's not opening at all. God, like I said, hands. But a little tip is do that, and it should come off easily. And lucky enough, I have another one on hands to replace that. I do save these things. So what we are going to do, where did my tongs go again? There they are, there they are. And you get, you know, sprinkle some of that in there as well. Get some of the juices. You can never have too many bread and butter pickles. Now ideally I wish I had some of Laurie's delicious bread and butter pickles that she sent me. because these ones just don't compare. So what I'm going to do is just kind of loosely chop. And toss it in there. So that's so far potatoes and pickles. Give them a little shake. Now we're going to add a little bit of salt. Again, a little pinch of sugar. You'll thank me on the sugar. That looks like a lot of sugar, but trust me guys, it makes all the difference in this dish. We're also going to add a little dash of black pepper. And I'm also going to add a little bit of the seasoning. Now let me put the pickles away. And get the mayonnaise, because we're going to add some mayonnaise to this also. And guess what? I can't open that jar either. Although it's slightly easier. Although that was a bit of a pain in the ass. As I was saying, all these things do set to try us, especially when we seem to be recording. Little wash of the hands. And let's get ourselves a good old MRE spoon. It's going to go 1 and 2 and 3. And that is the mayonnaise. So 3 good dollops of mayo. And that is it. That's our little simple, quick and easy potato salad. And just kind of tease this around. And you can kind of see there, slowly and surely, everything is coated. Now the other wonderful thing of this is that it's now in a container that I can store it in. And this is why I save these things. So once I do finish the cooking process, get those other bits of pickle in, waste not, want not. So that's just like 3 potatoes. I've still got 1 spare that I can also use for further future bacon wrapped cheese and potato burger with mushrooms to boot. So that is pretty much all there is to do with the potato salad. And let me try and break a small piece off. There we go. Perfect. Ow. Wonderful. That is good. And like I say, you can put the lid on it, put that in the fridge, take it on a picnic, take it to lunch, whatever. You can even put half of your salad in there and a burger in there. Take it with you. Give it a little shake as well, just to get enough, just to give it a good coating. So, let me come back and flip the burger. Let me just give you a little look. I don't know what the hell happened to that one. It went a very weird and peculiar shape, but that one is doing good. And you can see there we got our potatoes. They're cooking gently in the beef and bacon fat combined, as are the... So that's not that far away. got a top tip I was going to give you. Again, you remember we just saved the container there. We've got a container here that's some takeout food coming. So I'm going to take this, that goes in there, that can be tossed away. And you know what else we can do? We can get our bacon and put it in the other side. And remember, most of these are going to go together, so it doesn't really matter. So we've got bacon in one side, we've got beef on the other, and that can be returned once again, along with the mushrooms. I'm not doing anything with those, to the fridge. Saves us some room. Okay, so we are ready and about to dress the burgers. So we've prepped everything, and there's a little prepper tip for you. Always have things ready on hand. So all I'm going to do is put one layer of cheese on top of the burgers, like so. Okay, now I'm going to put a potato on top of the cheese, like so. Actually, I should have done that. Now I'm going to put some mushrooms on each one. Look how beautifully caramelized they are. And then on top, another layer of cheese. And that is that, my friends. Now you can see there's an awful lot of fat in there, so I'm going to just turn that down a little bit, because all I really want to do is have a good time, and I'm not the feeling, I'm not the only one. Sheryl Crow, beautiful girl, shit singer. But anyway, now what we're going to do is kind of put our lid on, and there we have our complete, just to be safe so I don't drop it, and that's the best part there, that dirty burnt cheese. And then what I do with that is pour that into there, and the coldness of it right now will help clean it up. It's not delicious. I'm not presenting this to customers, but along with that and some of our God, I can't open anything. Potato salad. Again, let's get ourselves a good old MRE spoon and put ourselves a little serving of potato salad. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is a tea in the kitchen bacon wrapped cheeseburger with potato and mushroom. So it's kind of not exactly as good as burger and fries, but I do like potato with my burger. It does seem a rude thing to have salad with a burger, and I actually think it's a crime against humanity. All I did was put a dollop of mayonnaise and a single pickle, and this is a little bit of chef expertise information for you. Burgers are never improved by the addition of things like lettuce or tomato. Maybe a little bit of avocado if you are, in the southern western part of the United States. Avocado on a burger does go good, but other than that, I think cheese, mayonnaise, and a pickle is all you need. But this is a bit pimped up. We've got extra bacon, we've got extra cheese, and we've got potato on top of it. And I can tell you guys, I can't wait to tuck into that. So as I say, guys, tea in the kitchen. This was part of TspTv's Variety. Let me know if you want to see more kitchen tips and sweet one-pan recipes, because being a single bachelor guy, I don't like to make too much washing up, which I already have a little bit to do off screen now. But I'm going to go and enjoy this little burger. If you enjoyed tea in the kitchen, double burgers, they're not double burgers, bacon wrapped cheeseburgers with potatoes and mushrooms, leave some comments below and let me know if you want to see future tea in the kitchen videos and episodes as part of Variety Friday. So stay tuned. We've probably got another episode of something or other coming up right next. It's part of TspTv Varietee Friday. Stay tuned and see you later. There was a very tiny little bonus baby pea burk because I forgot to put something in my potato salad. This is a little bit of a extended footage here on Tea in the Kitchen, bacon wrapped cheeseburgers. But my little secret ingredient I forgot to show you because I left it downstairs, funny enough, when I did start recording. But we've got our potato salad, just some bread and butter pickles, some potatoes, mayonnaise, a little bit of seasoning to taste. Now, of course, you could add some boiled eggs, as I said, to make egg and potato salad. That would be very nutritious. And this could make, you know, maybe 3, 4, even 5 servings. You can add whatever you want. Some onions, some roasted peppers, all sorts of things. But the secret ingredient we are going to be tossing in, as I don't know if you can see this, this is some spicy hot Cheez-It dust, and also I'm trying to break it down as much as I can, hot Cheeto dust. And what I'm going to do is kind of mix that up together. I'm actually going to save some of that because that is good seasoning. And that is all we are going to do. There you go, baby pea. There's a better one. That's because I'm having a can of Coca-Cola, which I wrapped a piece of paper around, put it under the cold water, then put it in the freezer. In about 20 minutes, it is almost ice cold. There's another tip there, and there's a good chance we will get a burp. Told you, nothing makes me burp like Coca-Cola baby pea. And also thought it wouldn't really be a food-related TSP episode without any burps. We don't get the burps so much since I've run out of MREs to review. So if you do want to send me an MRE review because you're a fan of an MRE to review because you're a fan of burps, then please do so. And trust me, guys, this is a kind of prison season. A little bit of hot Cheeto and Cheez-It dust will go a long way in a ramen noodle recipe. Makes all the difference. All the difference in the world. My goodness. So that was something I did. Oh my god, I want more now. I'm just going to dump it all in. And that flavour really does take me back to my days at the Theo Lacey Detention Centre, where I was waiting deportation from the United States, courtesy of Immigration Customs Enforcement Agency. Prior to that, I'd been LA County in the Pitches Supermax facility up there by Six Flags, if you are familiar. So I don't know what it is about hot Cheetos, mayonnaise, and Cheez-It dust that sort of does it for me, but strangely, it is a comforting flavour. But trust me, do this to your potato salad. Try this little recipe. You won't be sorry. So that was my little bonus footage. Let's see if we can get one last burp for my beloved baby pea. I told you, Coca-Cola. So hopefully you enjoyed that. That was just for you. Anyone else who didn't enjoy the burps, I don't care. That was for baby pea. And that was my potato salad, and that was my secret ingredient recipe. Hot Cheetos and Cheez-It dust. Potato salad will make the world of difference. So there, this is the end of the video now. Hope you enjoyed that little additional ingredient and bonus burp session for you and your enjoyment. Take care, and we will see you in the next episode of Cooking with Tea, and stay tuned to Variety Friday on TspTv. it's once again Tea in the Kitchen, this time with a 5-minute leftover makeover. Yes, that's right, leftover makeovers. Leftovers are something we often find ourselves having in the refrigerator, and sometimes they get a little bit, you know, forgotten about, or sometimes a little bit stale and sort of undesirable, especially if you've been eating it a few days in a row. And sometimes food fatigue will indeed set in. So what you may or may not remember from earlier, we had this delicious potato salad, which crumbs from hot Cheetos and some dust from spicy hot Cheez-Its to give it that little bit of prison flavor seasoning. And trust me, that is delicious enough on its own. But let's add a little bit of added nutrition and flavor with something you may already have seen on the chopping board. Here is some good old avocado. Now I actually had two. I actually had a whole bag of them, to be honest. I picked up a bag in my groceries. They were on special offer, 5 for $4, which is very expensive for avocados, and I actually ate half of one for my dessert a little bit earlier. Strange things, avocados. Sometimes they can be savory, sometimes they can be sweet. Put a little bit of salt on them or a bit of sugar. They're good. So all I'm going to do again is kind of just chop these up, very similar to the potatoes, but maybe a little bit smaller. And we're going to add that to our potato salad. So now we've got potato, avocado, pickle, and the Cheez-It dust. Now trust me, this actually will make this really into something a little bit special. Now you know, it's kind of a little bit like guacamole potato salad, I guess. You know, you can add some jalapenos to this. That would be absolutely phenomenal, to be quite honest with you. Little splash of hot sauce maybe. As I said, if you're a fan of it, onions would be good. And another tip, similar to the hot Cheetos and the spicy Cheez-It dust that I sprinkled on to the top of the potato salad, you could use the French's onions, kind of similar to what you put on the green bean casserole for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So once again, we're going to get a trusty MRE fork, and oh my god, let me just show you how many MRE forks I have. Don't know if you can see them, and that's just the ones that are upstairs that I forget to get downstairs. You'd be surprised how many MRE forks I have, but they're reusable. You can save them and wash them and use them time and time again. So pretty much the same thing. All we're doing is blending and melanging the avocado into the potato salad, and soak up some of the already dressing from the mayonnaise and the hot Cheetos and Cheez-It dust, and that will, as I said, just step it up a notch. And that has given your leftovers a little bit of a makeover. And as I said, if you kind of are eating the same thing day after day, which is kind of what I do, so a little bit like I did with this potato salad, is I made a batch on Monday evening or Tuesday evening, or whenever it was that I made it, I can't remember now, but you are watching this on Friday as part of Friday Night Varietee. And hopefully you are enjoying it. And if I'm not, I did make this video almost instantaneously after I did sprinkle on the cheese dust or not. Will remain a TspTv secret. And if or not I forgot to add the avocado earlier, and I didn't want to do a further bonus footage to the previous bacon wrapped burger video, I figured let me put together a little 5-minute tip. Leftover makeovers, because everyone can do with making a leftover, but there is a spoonful. Oh my god. And trust me guys, the avocado just makes all the difference. And to be quite honest, with the spice from the Cheez-Its and the Cheetos, it gives you that guacamole taste. So there you go guys, 5-minute makeover, leftover makeover should I say. Maybe we will feature this again. But as I said, suffering from food fatigue is something you might find if you're living off the same thing over and over again. Single guy like me, I tend to make a batch of something, and that's meals for the week. So anyway, as it goes, that's close to the 5-minute mark. Hope you enjoyed this 5-minute tea in the kitchen leftover What's up, guys? Welcome to Project Thrift Store, the Thrift Files, the programming part of TspTv's Variety Friday, where you get to choose the content and even play a little part in creating the content. And tonight's content was chosen by you last week during the pilot project for Project Thrift Store, and some of you suggested and decided that the Georgia Guidestones would be something of interest that we could work to on a joint venture and a little group project to bring for the other members of the Thrift fam who didn't participate in this particular Project Thrift Store Thrift File episode, and maybe this might give them a little bit of enthusiasm, encouragement to get their minds into gear and start thinking about something they might like to be part of a future Project Thrift Store presentation where the viewers get to contribute to the content and creations that are part of TspTv's Variety Friday. And hopefully you have been enjoying this first proper installment of TspTv Variety Friday up until now. So anyway, Georgia Guidestones, without any further ado, let's crack on and dive into this little mystery. Now, unfortunately, there wasn't a great deal of interest, although there was some interest suggested about this, but when it did sort of come around to actually providing the content and doing your part, not so many viewers did step up, but good old baby P, Becky Pamplin, we love her for her burp counting cuteness. She sent me this little link on the Georgia Guidestones, as did our very own little Cajun agent Nancy. Unfortunately, Nancy, my darling, that the information you did send to me was unable to be opened in Canada. Not sure what that was about, but I think it was from the History Channel, and some of these websites only sort of logistically allow those videos and content to be viewed. So unfortunately, Nancy, your contribution didn't make it to the final cut, but we will start out with Becky P's little contribution here, and thank you very much, baby P, for this. So there they are, the Georgia Guidestones themselves, and there are a few pictures here which is pretty cool. So let's go and look at the next one, and they are sort of a little very similar to Stonehenge, as we will discover more as this little Project Thrift Store episode continues. So I do got some stuff of interest regarding the Guidestones for you that come from YouTube, so it's not so much reading, trying to give you something to look at and rest your minds a little bit, but there is some thought-provoking stuff involved. So they also contain these like 10 commandments, which again I won't delve into too much because that will be giving the secrets of the episode away. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. But there you can read some of them for yourself. So I'm not going to tell you too much about them myself, because as I said, we do got a little bit, a few bits of interesting information in articles for you to watch and listen to as part of this episode of Project Thrift Store, the Thrift Files. So thank you again, baby P, for this. And there are some, as I said, pictures of the Guidestones down there. Now, they're not actually hidden. You can actually just drive up and stop by and go and look around them yourself, and there's a couple of sort of information sort of placards and stuff there that will tell you all about them and their origins and when they come to be. But how they come to be and what their purpose is a little bit of the mystery of the Georgia Guidestones. Some say they are part of the New World Order depopulation agenda. Some say they are some communication device to aliens, ancient or new, maybe holographic, I don't know. But depopulation does seem to be featuring somewhere in the Guidestones, but there's a little bit of history about them. Back in 1979, a man going by the pseudonym of R.C. Christian approached the Alberton Granite Finishing Company with a task of building a monument. He said that no one was to ever know what the was never to know his true identity or the true identity and meaning of the Georgia Guidestones, I will hasten to add at this point. He said that no one was to know, as I've just read, that was the same line, sorry about that. And he didn't also want to be known the group of people that he was representing. Was this the Illuminati, the New World Order, the evil cabal of bankers and industrial militarized complex CEOs and directors. One may never know. As I said, it is shrouded in mystery, but lots of people do pay homage and pilgrimages to the Georgia Guidestones for many, many, many reasons. But he didn't want anybody to know anything about who he really was, who he was representing, and what they really did mean. He seemed to have an endless supply of money, which again would suggest he was from the pool of elites that may or may not be out to totally control us, dominate us, and by the looks of things, depopulate us. But there we go. But he said he had all sorts of money to make it happen, and he had terms of legal contacts so that all plans could go place, the planning permits and stuff like that. But all these plans had to be destroyed after completion, and the information about him withheld to the public. Although we do know that somebody of the name R.C. Christian did finance them. But that is a pseudonym, and who the real R.C. Christian is a little bit of a mystery, and maybe or not, some of you guys might want to unravel that more by looking into that yourself and maybe contributing to this. But in 1980, the stones were finished. They carry a tablet in front proclaiming, "Let these guide stones to an age of reason." Engraved on the stones are 10 guidelines meant to re-establish the planet and society, perhaps after an apocalypse. And who knows what sort of apocalypse is on the way. We have been talking about the possibilities and probabilities that maybe or maybe not there is a false flag, staged event, psychological operation, alien agenda about to happen. Please pay attention to my recent uploads this week. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, but we could also see a pandemic-based apocalypse that also, could do an awful lot to dent population and do a great deal in the elite's depopulation agenda. But back to the tablets. They are written in 8 different languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. And among the commandments, other commandments, they preach to maintaining humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, and that's quite a lot of depopulation, because there's about 9 billion of us. So bear in mind they would have to remove 8.5 billion people to maintain that figure of 500 million to keep a perpetual balance with nature. The rule of passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. A balance of personal rights with social duties, and maybe that social duties might be to continue and maintain that 500 million figure of populace on the planet, and not to be a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature. Now, who decides that humanity is a cancer on earth or not? Well, I'd have to go as far as to say it would be the elites, maybe those that have millions and millions and maybe even trillions and billions of dollars at their disposal to make things like the Georgia Guidestones happen, might see those that don't have billions and trillions and millions, that may not even have thousands or hundreds of dollars, as a cancer. And maybe people in parts of what is considered the third world might be deemed as the most toxic of all cancers, and maybe also these parts of the world that also are almost not necessarily limitless resources, but for textiles, sort of things, like coal, diamonds, agriculture, all of these things can sort of be found quite prominently within some of these nations. So get rid of the populace, use some as slave labor, and then rape that nation of its resources and industry. But the Guidestones also serve as an astronomical calendar, very similar to Stonehenge, in a stone circle closer to my hometown of Swindon, known as Avebury, the oldest known civilization in history. Look that up yourselves, guys. Avebury, very, very impressive and mystical set of stone circles indeed, just a stone's throw from where I was born. But they are an astronomical calendar, and every day at noon the sun shines through a narrow hole in the structure and illuminates the day's date on an engraving. And there's an interesting little clue there: it illuminates. Maybe on behalf of the Illuminati, but it does have a little narrow hole which the sun shines through every day at Friday. The names of 4 ancient language are inscribed on the sides near the top. Babylonian, I can't read that word, Classical Greek, and Sanskrit and Egyptian hieroglyphs. Maybe they might add another tablet with modern day hieroglyphs, emojis. That is what I do believe is going to be the universal language. Share if you agree. You don't have to share if you agree at all. But it has some classic Sanskrit and text on there, as well as 8 different language. And additionally, an international tablet at the site speaks of a time capsule. So beneath the guide stones themselves, there is a time capsule alleged to be buried alongside them. What is contained in that time capsule, one can only wonder. Though the dates on which the capsule was buried and when it is to be reopened are missing. Interesting, we'll just add that, sorry there. Whether this is intentional or the capsule was never buried is unknown, so it might just be a myth or an urban legend. There is a time capsule there. But the guidestones continue to be a point of controversy. Conspiracy theorists and fundamentalists believe them to be the work of satanists or the New World Order, fueled particularly by certain commandments such as guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity, which can be anonymously interpreted, and the guidestones have been seriously vandalized by such conspiracy theorists over the years. Some others believe them to be a message of wise prophecy, possibly the work of an eccentric man of science. However, in the past 30 years, there are many indications we may never know. Who built them besides what is engraved on the guide stones itself? Sponsors a small group of Americans who seek an age of reason. Know before you go, from Highway 77 in Albert Country, you see signs pointing to Guidestone Road. So thank you for that little bit of tidbit of information and knowledge on the Georgia Guidestones. And there you can see on the right of your screen the address if you do want to go visit them, and why not go visit them. And if you do, take some video recording, send it to me. We can add it into a future episode of Project Thrift Store, the Thrift Files. So a little bit, as I said, of an indication or interpretation that they could lead or be deciphered that there's some depopulation agenda within these guidestones. And of course, Agenda 2030, the United Nations plan and proposal for sustainable development, also kind of does coincide a little bit with what is said in the guidestones. But unfortunately, I am kind of running a little bit against a deadline and behind the clock with terms of this production, so we might have to save that for another day. But we will wrap this up afterwards with a little bit of discussion, maybe, and thoughts about the Georgia Guidestones when this part of TspTv Variety Friday ends and we do return live to the thrift store studio. But before we do, there are a few articles and stuff to look at in relation and regard to the Georgia Guidestones. So without further ado, let's watch those now.
Granite monoliths mysteriously appeared about 40 years ago. And if you're thinking aliens or a cult or even the 10 Commandments, well, you're not the only one. Just ask this guy.
You take pictures of it, you get a huge orb. When you put your head down in there like this and look through it, all of energy comes through that sucker, man.
Things at this southern Stonehenge are about to get totally weird. These These granite slabs are on a farm outside of Atlanta, and no one knows exactly what they're doing here.
In future generations, they'll wonder, who put those stones there? Why did they put those stones there?
Hudson Cohn was here from the beginning, 1979. He took these photos as the guidestones went up, 19 feet high, 250,000 pounds, and built to withstand an earthquake. The 4 slabs of granite each have 10 guiding principles of truth and harmony. They're inscribed in English, Russian, Chinese, Arabic. The list of languages goes on. But what does it all mean?
I've had people, some say it was some kind of Satan worship shrine and it ought to be torn down. And I've had others say it was the holiest spot on earth, that the Holy Grail was buried under there. Some people think it's a beacon to UFOs.
Hudson is one of the only people to meet the man who knows the true meaning. His name is R.C. Christian, and he paid for this all to be built. And wouldn't you know it, R.C. Christian is a fake name.
And he was very concerned about the environment.
Do you think he could still be alive?
Probably not. I'd say early to mid-70s then. I'm not saying he couldn't be alive, but he'd been an awful old man.
Even the people who built the Georgia Guidestones say that they don't even know for sure why R.C. Christian wanted this. Not even Wayne Mullinax, who sold 5 acres of his cow pasture to make space for the stones.
My house from here is about 600, maybe 700 feet down there, and we didn't have a problem unless somebody was going to come and sacrifice one of my cows. Then I would have had a problem.
Did that happen?
No, it did not, but I did get nervous several times.
Mostly what's happened is a constant flow of tourists to Georgia's granite country. That's what this region is known for.
We do headstones and things of that nature, monuments. We do war memorials and things like that, but this really is one of the largest.
The Guidestones bring about 10,000 people a year to a town with a population of only about 4,500.
People all the way from Australia and China.
With all the tourism, is it possible that R.C. Christian was someone from Elberton that simply wanted to promote the area?
I'm thinking probably not, just because there was no marketing done really after the Guidestones were erected. If you're going to put up something of this nature, then you're going to market that, right? You're going to tell everyone.
R.C. Christian's conditions was that there'd be no tourist attractions on the land, no t-shirt shops or crystal necklace stands, but there's no stopping the cosmically curious and the theories they bring with them.
I try to get up here 3 to 5 times a week. The real secret is under there. At some point, these will come down, and there's a time capsule right under there.
There's actually been a lot of speculation about the existence of that buried time capsule.
There's some things you just don't tell everything.
Do you think it's there?
Let's just say I'm not going to answer that.
What's supposed to be in it?
Well, a lot of times there's capsules in different places with different things in it. And that could be the true identity to the group that Mr. Christian represents.
Maybe the time capsule's buried somewhere but not there.
I didn't say that.
That's just my speculation.
Say that.
Whatever the reason, these slabs are built strong enough to stand on this earth longer than any of us, leaving a future generation guessing.
It's like looking at a painting. You can see the painting, but you don't know what the painter really meant. Whatever it means to you is what it means. There's no right or wrong.
Right now, I am close to Elberton, Georgia, a little north of it, in fact, which is pretty close to the South Carolina border. And I am at what are called the Georgia Guidestones. Now, I've been, I guess, flaneuring through small town America for the past week or so just to do it. And I've ended up here. So if you've never heard about these things, they're a mysterious monument. I'll go into the specifics. It's relatively recently put up around 1980 by some mysterious person from some mysterious organization. There's a bunch of conspiracy theories about it, so it's worth talking about, and I might as well show you around. So let's go ahead and do that. So, superficially, the Georgia Guidestones, they're around 20 feet tall. They're pretty big up there. They have engravings on each side in a different language. We'll go to the English side over here. Now, Elberton, Georgia, where this is built, is known for its granite. If you go driving around, we're a little away from the actual city, but if you go into the closer, you'll see basically a bunch of granite businesses. They make everything from countertops to mausolea, so you can get one if you want. But I think that's one of the reasons that this was, I don't know, decided that it would be built here. Anyway, so the inscription is, there are 4 pillars here with an inscription on each side, each in a different language. And they all say the same thing. Here's the English side. I don't know if you can make out all of that. I think you can, but you can read it on Wikipedia if you can't. The idea behind it, so the LARP behind this monument, first off, was that if the whole world collapses, if society collapses, this granite monument might still be around, just because it's in a good location, good material. It's not going to erode or something like that. So it's supposed to give advice in different languages as to how to organize society, so that's the LARP. Now, of course, most of them are just like, you know, balance personal rights with social duties. I mean, it's just a bunch of platitudes, or, you know, avoid petty laws and useless official. I wish we could actually do one of these things, but now the more controversial one is at the very top. I don't think you can read it with the lighting. Yeah, okay, so maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. So that's the controversial part, because there are, you know, a whole bunch of conspiracy theory people who are like, dude, it's this monument's put up by, like, NWO, like, Illuminati people. I think even the Georgia Guidestones have made it to an Alex Jones documentary. I think you can check them out on there. But they've made it, every once in a while they'll get defaced with, you know, some kind of, I don't know, people complaining about pedophile vampires or psychic vampires, whatever it is. Now, anyway, let's go ahead and look at the inscription. So again, here's the English, and here is Russian. I'll go ahead and tell you I have an indirect personal connection to these guidestones. I'll tell you that in a second. Here's Spanish. There is Swahili. And on the other side, Hebrew, of course. And I was going to say Sanskrit. This is Hindi. This is Hindi, yeah. There's a Sanskrit inscription up there. I'll talk about that in a second. And actually, the typesetting, very disappointing. If you look at whoever typeset this cannot handle Devanagari on granite. I don't know, they probably do it better in India, but who's going to notice? And here's Arabic, same thing, and Chinese in traditional characters there. So now up at the top, on all 4 corners, you'll see there's another inscription. There's Egyptian up there. I mentioned Sanskrit is on this corner. Sorry, went a little blurry for a second. On the east corner over here is, looks like there's a little bit of, I don't know, water. I don't know what that is, some kind of black stuff, but that's ancient Greek up there. And on the last, I think their cuneiform, I think that's Babylonian. It might be Akkadian or something. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's Babylonian. Actually, it says on the, I think it says on this thing. Yeah, Babylonian cuneiform. So, and as they say here, let these be guidestones to an age of reason. It says it on each side. Now, I mentioned I have an indirect personal connection to these, and that is because my professor at University of Georgia, he actually wrote the Sanskrit and the ancient Greek translations up here. So, I note that because, of course, he doesn't know anything about these guidestones. He was just commissioned to do it. Basically, actually, if you go over here to this informational plaque, it tells you some of the origins of this. Basically, some mysterious guy named R.C. Christian, probably a pseudonym, but he came around asking people to basically have this thing built. He said he represented a group of people who wanted it built. And he actually came to the University of Georgia when my professor, who was actually just starting out as, I guess, doing historical linguistics or classics or something like that, because he was looking for someone to translate, you know, the saying into ancient Greek and to Sanskrit. So my professor did both of those, and I mean, if you can read ancient Greek, one thing he talked about is obviously, again, the translation is, let these be guidestones to an age of reason. And he was like, well, there's no real word for guidestone, so, what it literally says, if you can read it, is, let these be, stones. Actually, let me actually read it first. Showing the way or something like that. So, with a participle. Or I think there's some blackness over that. Now, I can't actually make out the Sanskrit, and I don't really know that much Sanskrit, but I remember he mentioned that there's an error in the Sanskrit portion. I can't really make it out from here, and half of it isn't even visible from here. So anyway, that's the linguistic portion of this monument. Additionally, there are a couple astrological things here. So, actually 3 of them. One of them is this hole. Bam. Now this points through to, I think, the North Star or Polar North or whatever it is. So it is positioned perfectly for that. And then over here, this, I think, shows you the sunrise at the equinox, or the solstice, excuse me. Actually, let me double check that. I think it says over here. I thought it said over here. Oh, yeah. Astrological features. So, channel through the stone indicates celestial pole. That's what I said. Horizontal slot indicates annual travel of the sun. Okay, maybe it's not whatever that is. And sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year. So we'll go ahead and look at that. And that one up here, that is that thing up there. So obviously today we actually are getting close to noon, but it's way too cloudy to see it. You probably can't even. Yeah, you may be able to see some light through that thing, but it's. Obviously it's supposed to be perfectly at noon for it to, shine through perfectly, and it's all cloudy, so it's not really going to work out. So anyway, so this is a place you can come by. Again, it's in Elberton, Georgia. Very mysterious. There is additionally, over here it says at least, that there is a time capsule. You may have noticed when I was looking at this before. Placed 6 feet below this spot on blank, to be opened on blank. So the dates were never filled in. Maybe that means the time capsule was never put there. Maybe that means they're just not going to tell you what happened. I'm not quite sure. So there may or may not be a time capsule under here. I don't know. It actually looks like at least some animal was trying to dig in here. So maybe this granite isn't quite as good as anticipated. Let's see if there's, it's just something's been digging in there. Might have just been a little kid. This is actually the first time I've only been here twice. This is the first time I've been here and there's no one else here. I thought about recording last time I was here, but, there are some boomers and their kids walking around. But again, it's, sort of a mysterious monument there. Now, of course, there are a lot of other real monuments in the area commemorating real events and kind of stuff like that, but this is one that I think vexes people just because there's sort of a, conspiracy. I think people sometimes think, I forgot about this. There's some kind of signature or symbol in there. I don't know if that's on every side. I don't think it is. There are a couple, little Easter eggs here and there. Actually, yeah, this is on every side. Or at least those two. Maybe I can double check. So, that could just be from the company that made the granite. I'm not quite sure. You know what? I feel like there was something else weird over here that I found last time. There's some, notch. Yeah, okay, so, see, in the corners of all these, they're just normal granite corners, right? But over there, I don't know if you can make that out, there's an empty space. Like a cube has been taken out of it. So, I think if you read up on it, I think there used to be a piece there, and it was physically removed or something like that. I don't think it was made out of granite, it was made out of something else. So no one really knows what that's about. So, anyway. Yeah, so that's that, pretty much. These, again, are the Georgia Guidestones. You can have your own conspiracy theories about them. You can pretty much drive up to them. They're just on this country road. Visit the local town of Elberton nearby, but I was just sort of driving in. Figured I might as well give it a visit. So, anyway, hope this piqued your interest, and I will see you boomers next time.
2015, all 193 UN member states adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. They recognize that ending poverty calls for transforming our world through strategies that build economic growth, address social needs, and ensure environmental protection. To achieve this vision, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, known as SDGs, were defined as part of the 2030 Agenda. The SDGs and their targets balance the three dimensions of sustainable development: economic, social, and environmental, working in partnerships and calling for action by all countries. The goals are integrated and indivisible. To capture the broad scope of the SDGs, 5 core principles have been included in the 2030 Agenda. The 5 Ps: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. They underline the importance of eradicating poverty and hunger in all its forms, offering prosperity for all, and ensuring the protection of the planet and its natural resources. They emphasize a world where peace and human rights are realized for everyone, and where all countries and stakeholders act in collaborative partnerships to achieve sustainable development. These core principles also define the political priorities of the Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ, when collaborating with its partner countries. The Ministry calls for Germany to fulfill its global responsibility, advocates leaving no one behind, and promotes approaches balancing the 3 dimensions of sustainable development. An example of how this can be done is the successful Partnership for Sustainable Textiles, initiated by the BMZ in 2014. Entering the partnership, businesses, politics, and civil society commit to improving working and environmental conditions in countries where textiles and clothing are produced. That means that human rights and social and environmental standards must be met along the entire textile supply chain. Through its support, the BMZ ensures that our clothing is produced under conditions which are fair for people and nature. Today, the partnership already accounts for 50% of revenues achieved by the German textile industry, and the aim is to reach 75% by the end of 2018. Everyone can make a difference and contribute to transforming our world in line with the 2030 Agenda. For example, through conscious purchase decisions. We can choose organically grown and fairly traded products, and should only buy the amount we actually need. In such an easy way, we can contribute to sustainable development every day. In many areas, our personal decisions have impacts on nature and people around the world. We therefore need to start taking our responsibilities seriously and adjusting our actions accordingly. Join now and work together with the BMZ. Take responsibility, locally and globally, for humans and nature.
Next, we turn to the town of Elberton, Georgia, the granite capital of the world. Elberton is famous for its production of tombstones, exporting some 250,000 tombstones every year. Oddly enough, the town that makes a living through death is also the home of what some consider the most threatening monument in America. A monument that some believe is a symbol for the coming Holocaust, promoting a depopulation effort at a massive scale.
It was back in 1979 when a stranger came to Elberton, Georgia. Now, Elberton, Georgia is on the eastern part of Georgia, very close to the South Carolina border. And this stranger said that he was part of a secret group, and they wanted to build a great granite monument.
This was done by a guy who gave a pseudonym, came in, paid cash, had this company set these things up in 1980, called himself R.C. Christian. That's not his real name. It says right on the stones, a pseudonym.
Nobody knows his real name because that isn't his real name. Nobody knows who put the money up other than this fictional individual. Nobody knows what secret group he represents. Of course, Elberton mines granite. They make tombstones there. And they have the facilities to mine the granite. But he gave very, very specific directions as to how this was to be built, so that it would always be aligned in certain ways, so you'd always be able to see the North Star, so it would be aligned with the moon and with the various phases of the sun. and very, very similar to the Stonehenge that they have in England. So the Stonehenge was a Druidic monument. This was to be the American Stonehenge, or it's known as the Georgia Guidestones. And on each one of the Guidestones is this message in a different language, actually 8 different languages. Are the 10 commandments that come from the dark side. And the first one is maintain the world population at 500 million in constant balance with nature, which doesn't sound too bad until you realize that we've got over 6 billion people in the world. And if we're going to maintain the world population at 500 million in constant balance with nature, we're going to have to kill off about 90% or more of the world's population.
I went there and looked at those things and said, now, hold on a minute. Today's population is 6 billion. They want to maintain humanity under 1/2 billion. Looks like a lot of people got to die for their plan to work, which is, by the way, the plan. As Jacques Cousteau said, we'd have to eliminate 350,000 people a day. 1/3 people a day would have to be eliminated to save Mother Earth. Bill Clinton said we need to reduce the population of the Earth to 1 billion. There are a lot of folks who would like to reduce the population of the Earth.
Aleister Crowley taught that a global massacre would be necessary to bring about the New Age. He wrote, "There is a magical operation of maximum importance, the initiation of a new eon. When it becomes necessary to utter a word, the whole planet must be bathed in blood. Before man is ready to accept the law of Thelema, or will, the great war must be fought. This bloody sacrifice is the critical point of the world ceremony of the crowned and conquering child as Lord of the Eon. This initiation takes place to remove Christians, who are considered the primary obstacle to world unity under Antichrist." A magazine called the Omega Letter says that there is only one obstacle to world unity: Christianity. It goes on to say that Christianity claims supernatural knowledge and divine revelation, and therefore should not be tolerated. Gus Hall, the former leader of the Communist Party in America, said, "I dream of a time when the last congressman is strangled to death on the guts of the last preacher. And since the Christians love to sing about the blood, why not give them a little of it?" A New Age group calling itself Solar Questers writes, "These are wondrous times because the world has gone through this terrific experience as it spins slowly back to its rightful orbit in the position that it should be in the heavens. And as this happens more and more comfort and well-being will come upon this world, and those who hinder will be removed, liquidated. They must be wiped clean off the face of the earth." Ruth Montgomery, sometimes referred to as the herald of the New Age, said, "Millions will survive and millions won't. Those who won't will go into the spirit state because there is truly no death." The authors of a New Age pamphlet titled Cosmic Countdown claim to have received messages from a higher intelligence. The pamphlet says the world should be forewarned to be on the lookout for the decimation of populations. These peoples will eventually be replaced by the new root race about to make its appearance in a newly cleansed world. But perhaps the most disturbing comments come from New Age author Barbara Marx Hubbard. Researchers John Ankerberg and John Weldon report that due to her vast financial wealth and influence among leading world politicians and industrialists, she is having a major impact behind the scenes. She has been influenced by spirits for almost 2 decades. In her book titled Happy Birthday Planet Earth, Hubbard wrote, "The choice is, do you wish to become a natural Christ, a universal human, or do you wish to die? People will either change or die," she says. "That is the choice." Hubbard says, "There have always been defective seeds. In the past, they were permitted to die a natural death. We, the elders, have been patiently waiting to take action to cut out this corrupted and corrupting element in the body of humanity." Hubbard's spirit guides gave her a vision of things to come. They told her that out of the full spectrum of human personality, 1/4 is electing to transcend, 1/4 is destructive, and they are defective seeds. Now, as we approach the quantum shift from the creature human to the co-creative human, the human who is the inheritor of godlike power, the destructive 1/4 must be eliminated from the social body. Fortunately, you are not responsible for this act. We are. We are in charge of God's selection process for planet Earth. He selects, we destroy. We are the riders of the pale horse, death.
Awakening family of light. Message begins right now. The Matrix is the reality. The constructed holographic or low-frequency world we have existed in for many years. We know how it wants us to behave. We are to obey, conform and compete. We are to continue to fall for the old, tired war strategy of divide and conquer. Continue to see each other as the enemy, whilst the cabal sit in their gilded castles cackling like bad Bond villains. But what is the end goal? What do the cabal, the architects of the Matrix, want? Everything hidden in plain sight is one of the cabal's truths, and so we find the answer to our question on the Georgia stones in Georgia, U.S., erected in 1980 under suitably mysterious circumstances. The Georgia stones set out the cabal's mission statement for humanity. They do want a peaceful, equally distributed economy, with a balance between art, production, nature and health. They speak of enlightenment, of spiritual awakening and liberation. They set out a plan for abundance and love. Well, that all sounds fine, really, until we read on to see how they intend to achieve this. Written in plain sight, on stone, they intend to achieve this modern utopia by limiting the planet's population to 500 million, and genetically modifying the humans still permitted to exist on planet Earth. Yep, they actually say it. This explains all the bad for people stuff they come up with in their dark, gold-tinted caves of depravity, greed and sacrifice. Hauling my love vibration back up as I write this. It's good to know the truth, but not dwell on it. How do they limit the population? War, poverty, disease and some more war. Might do it. Throw in some patriarchal hatred, misogyny, fascism, racism and homophobia into the cauldron. Sprinkle some food weaponry, chemical and synthetic pharmaceuticals, polluted air and water, and mind control programming and you've got yourself a poisonous brew to dose society with. How do you administer the magic potion? Train the people to police themselves. Create a panopticon reality, where perceived threat is as good as actual threat for controlling the population. Sheeple warfare, creating constant warfare, fear and hatred on the planet, lining their pockets with profiteering off the backs of the beleaguered population. Make sure a fairly substantial number are too poor to do more than survive. Make others climb their little hamster wheels all their lives. Cogs in the machine, bricks in the wall. Censor, manipulate and bully behind the veil of benevolence, philanthropy, denial and reprisal, as all the great science fiction writers have always known. The factor the cabal did not take into account, the baddies never do, is ... dramatic drumroll ... human spirit, that thing that makes us real, authentic, beautiful, vulnerable, powerful, empathic and everything in between. Our humanity, despite intensive post-WW2 Fourth Reich programming, polarization, persistent warfare and poverty, the human spirit is still fighting. The human spirit is still connected, compassionate and loving. These attributes also mean we are easily hurt, easily manipulated and easily fooled because we are quite trusting. There is spiritual humility and grace at the heart of humanity, which cuts through dark energy like a Jedi Knight's lightsaber. The expression of this spiritual fire, this purity of soul, can be seen in the art and beauty humanity creates. Kindness always wins through. Solidarity and humor. Laughter cuts across all programmed barriers. Love destroys the illusion of fear and hate. They know this, hence the genetically modified bit. Our society has become obsessed with the outer packaging, the human suit, We see a generation of beautiful young people pumping themselves with substances to emanate plastic people representing a plastic world. We can no longer rely on our eyesight to identify a true human from a clone. Robot or hologram. Check out Japan's Gemini robots or Kanye's famous vid. The faces we see projected onto our brains every day are that of people who have changed their appearance, smoothing emotion, snipping soul and cutting wisdom out their faces. We have become used to this. Genetic modification could pass us by unnoticed. We can't discern fake from real anymore in the Matrix. If we engage our mind-body-soul system, we read energy fields. We feel the spirit of the person. Our third eye can tell who is human and who is not. We just have to wake up our third eye. The Georgia Stones map us out. We are to exist. Those of us permitted to survive. In a sanitized world. A world where we will be labeled, assigned, identified and squeezed into little boxes of drone decorum. The sheeple utopia of the elite's perfect world. There to shine the boots of the exalted 1% in their ivory castles. The planet with all her gems of beauty and brilliance will be theirs to own, to indulge their senses in all Earth's pleasures. The cabal have used dark magic, dense frequencies to maneuver towards their goal. They have known for a long time what the age of Aquarius means for them. Their hold on the planet and her people is lessening every day as the veils lift. The vibrations light, the energies shift. The global karmic purge of hatred, fear, greed and control is well underway. The accelerated awakening of people across the world to stand up against the cabal, the elite, the warlords, bankers, kings and queens of greed and power. This plan of theirs, this planetary ownership mission set out on the Georgia Stones, has no chance whatsoever against the might of Gaia herself, her awakened and waking passengers. Cosmic, intergalactic interventions occur to galvanize this wave of organic transition and transcendence. The ancient battle between good and evil, light and darkness is being played out in our own little corner of the multiverse. The stakes are high, the repercussions potentially widespread and devastating. Humanity must step up, save ourselves and our planet, take back what is ours. Unplug and lighten the energetic load as the cosmic shift consciousness propel us to higher dimensions. This planet can easily care for the 7 billion humans on it. There is plenty for everyone. Fair exchange, fair distribution, fair living. It can be done. It is greed that drives the cabal. Greed for power, to own all the pleasures this world has to offer. There is no room for this base dense frequency on the new Earth. Whether we separate physically, metaphorically, dimensionally, the old Earth is going on her way out. Exit stage left. How we form the new Earth is down to us. The waves of energetic change are happening. It's what we do that will determine where these waves take us. We can all be Neo. We can all stop bullets, bend time and space, own the Matrix. Keep our frequencies high and the ripples will filter out, lighting up Gaia's grid like fairy lights around the planet. Meditate love, peace and abundance, beautiful people. See you on the grid, raising the frequencies to freedom and love. Namaste. By Moragant Awakening 5 Healing on Facebook, WordPress and YouTube. End of the message. Much love to all of you soul sisters, brothers. Watch DNA Awakening previous.
Well, welcome back, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that little first installment of Varietee Friday. And I do admit it did get a little bit dark towards the end, but it did seem to draw more attention and talkative topics amongst the chat there, while I guess in the earlier part you were kind of drooling over those delicious bacon-wrapped cheeseburgers, and maybe I don't know what you were going to be doing over the tins of beans that we were looking at during the part of the prepping section of that variety tea. But welcome, Lottie. Welcome, Jasper. You are the token gusset girls this evening. But as I said, let's get back into the studio. Hopefully you enjoyed that and we can talk a little bit more. But I was starting to drop off a little bit myself during that. Hopefully you can still hear me. And let me delete. Hello, hello, welcome back. It is. Here it is. Come on, do it now. Do it now. There we are. Thrift Store Prepper, TspTv Varietee Friday, and we're down to 11 folks now. Mine back on the screen. We did have about 14 or 15 at one point, but as I said, I did sort of run out of time, and it was a little bit of a grander project than I possibly imagined prior to putting it together. And I was a little bit ahead of myself this week in terms of production, and somehow now I am quite behind myself, and I do have the Watchmen special tomorrow to put together and get ready for you. But that's not a problem. That should be a little bit pleasurable, and sometimes when I'm putting the knowledge together, it does give me stuff for the night ahead, where sometimes pre-recording stuff I may have forgotten where it was as of the time. But I don't know if you guys noticed, maybe not as much as me, but it did seem to be a time delay on the sound, you know, sort of like when Kaz will know. Do you remember that Monkey Magic, when they used to badly lip sync? It'd be, hello, monkey, what are you doing today? A little bit like that, and it seemed like there was a slight delay on the sound, but as I said, a lot of this sound issue is not my doing and is out of my hands. If you have sound issues, don't know what to tell you guys. I do my best to try and make sure the audio is good, but in terms of variety, I don't know if or not that would be something that we should continue with, or if or not that was something you enjoyed. Now, I did have to cut that short. I was planning to try and bring 3 hours or make 3 1-hour segments, do like a little bit of pantry kitchen stuff. Then I was going to bring a little bit of maybe fiction decoded or something along those lines, maybe treasure hunting or such forth, and then finish up with Project Thrift Store, where hopefully we can kind of work together. So yeah, the Georgia Guidestones are a little bit fascinating, Mrs. L, but as I said, at 5 o'clock this evening, this wasn't even a thing, and I did spend more time than I probably should putting together the 4-minute 20-second intro, and probably put more effort into that than I did in the rest of this presentation. But if or not that's something, or this is something you guys would like to see more of on a Friday night, or maybe even on a Sunday night, I'm not sure, or not, as opposed to just like a presentation about one topic. And this is a bit what Variety Friday is all about. You don't get just one thing. You come in and sort of get a little bit of everything, and hopefully you get a night's entertainment. So Jasper, glad to see you back, buddy. You need to get a little bit drunk. You're always funnier when you're drunk, Jasper, although if you have like a period of sobriety or something going on, then don't get drunk on our behalf. But glad to see you, buddy. I didn't notice any audio issues. Well, that's good, Mrs. L, because as I said, Wednesday night was the most batshit strange, crazy string of events I've ever heard. And in the past, certain videos, certain topics I've made and uploaded, the audio issues have been a problem. Now, sometimes they can't always community strike you, they can't always censor, they can't almost always throw a copyright strike at you, but they can make your videos unwatchable. And you've all heard the expression, I'm sure, silencing the truth. Now, what or not the issue was with the bacon wrapped cheeseburgers, I do not know, but I did type a little comment in there, and I will remind some of you guys, there is a setting in your phone. I'm not sure about iPhone, but in Android, if you go to your settings, go to audio, go to advanced, there will be a best sound option, and by default all phones come with this deactivated, and that will give you a muted audio on your speaker system. Some of you may have older phones, but I can assure you my side, when I do the recordings, when I edit, when everything gets put together, the sound and the audio is all one level the same. Sometimes the music is a little bit louder than voice, but that's usually the way it is. But as I said, guys, if or not that was something you want to enjoy or see more of, then I'll probably put a little bit more time and attention and try to get as head of the game. But that was like a little bit of the attention and part and parcel of Variety Friday, was trying to experiment with putting together a sort of, you know, similar to a TV network, putting together a Friday night lineup of shows. So, as I said, I'm not, Nancy, you're not allowed to vote on any of these things. You just say yes to everything. You're like that annoying girl in the playground that really liked you, but you didn't really have a crush on her for whatever reason. But she just used to like and agree with everything you said, even if you sometimes liked things that you disagreed with the moment before, just to see if she would like them. But don't make us naughty corner, you Cajun agent. But as I said, it was all part and parcel of a little bit of maybe lightheartedness and a little bit of maybe a different direction to go with the stream. But if or not you enjoyed it, we will give it another go until you don't enjoy it anymore. But it was a little bit of a long oh, you leave my mate alone. Hey, she's my mate too. She's a thorn in the side of the thrift store sanity at times with her emojis. Bless her. But she did give me something, and I don't know, you did ask a question why, but sometimes networks and stuff, it was from the History Channel, and sometimes the cable companies or something don't let you watch in other countries. Sometimes that also happens with like Hulu and Netflix. I think they have like nation or country specific content for you. Yeah, this is the thing. A lot of the times they sort of design these things so that, as Devil Speak puts quite correctly there, so you buy other things or invest in further audio equipment. And the other thing is that what you have to bear in mind, that if you have your phone and you set the Google Assistant or Siri, whatever it is on iPhone, like that can be at the other side of the room and you can talk to it and it hears you. But when you record, in my phone, like it's not even an arm length away from me. And even when I do recordings, and certainly when I'm doing the pantry stuff, I'm like literally on top of the phone. So my voice is as close to the microphone as it can be. And these are surveillance, monitoring, advanced research technology devices, our good old smartphone there for you. They are designed to survey us, they are designed to monitor us, and they are listening. They have extremely sensitive high-tech technology inside. These devices are pretty much spyware, the sort of stuff that the CIA used to bug Castro and the likes of once upon a time. Now we carry them around as devices of convenience, and that's what they lead us to believe. It's for our best interest, when it really is in the interest of those who own the corporations and companies that design and program the software that does admit the electromagnetic frequencies and does provide the visual monarch programming in social media feeds that is brainwashing the masses into believing either the COVID is real or the COVID isn't real. Now, a lot of stuff and people are talking about vaccines, right? I'm not saying vaccines aren't real. I'm not saying they're not. There's been a lot about vaccines. Before, as a chef, I worked in big pharma for over 10 years. I have a little bit of an understanding how these operations work. They create the virus a little bit like Bill Gates. He created computer viruses and then sold you the cure. In software, virus software that you loaded onto your phone, sold you the phone and sold you the same thing. A little bit what they do, they create a market and then they create the product for the market. Problem, reaction, solution. Now, in terms of these vaccines, who's getting them? Who are they forcing them on? I'm not seeing anybody driving around in vans, jumping out of streets, just vaccinating people on the streets. But we're seeing a lot of news about vaccines containing this, vaccines containing that. If we go back to Tavistock, guys, they manipulate and design how society or societal behavior works. Both sides of the coin. So they are fueling the maskers and they are fueling the anti-maskers. They're giving the anti-maskers all their vaccine and this data and that data and lockstep, dark winter, all this stuff. Keep programming them with that rhetoric. And they are providing the maskers with all their rhetoric and propaganda. And then through a source of a series of methodology that is MK Ultra Monarch infused on social media, with people copy and pasting, sharing and agreeing, this is how it gets spread, and this is how they manipulate the masses. They give them something to concentrate on and distract them with. And this, again, going back to our Star Wars Decoded issue on Saturday night, we look at Palpatine, the Sith, the head of the Dark Knight, or the Dark Trinity, right? The head of the pyramid, the one world order, the one galactic order. He was controlling the Jedi, he was controlling the Trade Federation, he was controlling the Republic, he programmed the battle, the clones, and he was controlling the people who programmed the battle droids. All of this was by his doing, and everybody was fighting in conflict amongst themselves, distressed in the disruption of the galaxy, crippled itself, while he sat back and watched and laughed because it was all of his doing. And this is what is going on in society right now, and this is why I really have stopped paying attention to mainstream news, anything on social media, and just really sort of trying to concentrate on things that occupy my own mind that isn't COVIDian, because that is what they want you doing and what you're thinking about COVID. It doesn't matter if you're for it, against it, if you believe it, if you don't believe it. It's all about COVID, and COVID is the distraction. It's the smoke and mirrors. It's stopping us looking at things that are really, really going on. And as I said, I don't know about in your towns or cities or villages or hamlets or wherever it is you are. Are they rounding people up and injecting them with vaccines against their will? Certainly haven't seen any of that in Toronto as of yet. Not saying it's not going to happen. And you know, we say about, oh, I don't consent and stuff like this. And again, we don't consent. But it won't come down to that. If we don't consent, it'll probably be a bullet. And that's cheaper than sending you to a fucking camp. But as I said, guys, I don't know if or not, and you don't have to agree with that opinion. That is my thought and opinion. And it is designed. It is all controlled. You've heard of controlled opposition, and this is exactly it. And something that happens within a communist takeover. It's not an overnight. They don't go to bed one night and then wake up the next day and it's communist. It is a series of progression that leads us into that, and they slowly destabilize and disrupt the society as it has, and they also infiltrate society and fish out the dissidents by creating anti-government and contra movements to the alleged agenda. And this then brings anybody that may be anti-government when it comes to be into public eye. And then when it does get that much more closer, these people have made themselves targeted and often get rounded up and disappear. And this was what I'm saying, is all of this the smoke and mirror. And while they're doing this, all these satellites are going up, this mist that seems to be in the sky, this purple, are they getting ready to stage a holographic alien invasion? And I really do strongly feel that is what is not too far away. It does seem to be that it's lighting, things are lining up. Those stupid monoliths the other day that started cropping up in Romania, it was in Utah, disappeared, showed up in Romania. UFO sightings are up. Yeah, just the other day there was a huge meteor or something that flew over Toronto in the middle of the day, lit up the city. And I don't know, it's just strange days we are living in, guys. But unmarked trucks delivered it. You would think they would be singing about it here. What am I missing? Let's go back to some of the comments. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a soapbox moment then. Sorry about that, guys. Civil War, and the you know, one of the things that would lead to martial law, and sort of still to a degree we're under a sort of a stage of medical martial law. But civil unrest and natural disaster is something that can usher in martial law, and that is a little bit kind of when you get your emergency powers granted. And once those emergency powers are granted, a little bit like Palpatine, you never relinquish them. So are they trying to fire up and conjure up a civil war? Or is this all part of the fear-mongering and getting people sort of angry against each other? I don't know why. My computer's just shut itself off. But that is bizarre, because, again, that is plugged in and running off a battery. If Killer Kyle wasn't here, I could ask him maybe. But never mind. That happened. But we will find out tomorrow in The Watchmen that creating a global hostility, a global threat, imminent danger, death and destruction around the corner, once the false flag alien event comes into play, everyone is only too happy to put aside their differences in order to combat the greater threat that threatens us all. He's just a puppet of the masters in playing the role and the part that he is being designed to play, just as all politicians. No politicians are honest. They all have the good intentions that they tell you about prior to being in office, and when they get into office, then suddenly they backflip and seem to do only the things that the elites seem to want them to do. And whatever we get reported in the mainstream about how good or how bad they're doing or for the country is all part of the manipulation, and nothing is real. Don't believe anything anymore. And certainly, you know, the way things have gone over the last 6 months, with more and more people being out of work, being at home, socially isolated, getting their news from copy and shared sources, which originate from little think tanks that purposely design this propaganda to get out and saturate news feeds. This is exactly how they usher it in. We're not even batting an eyelid. We keep waiting for the COVID to end and keep waiting for it to get better, and people are peacefully protesting and angry on Facebook as you know, slacktivism. This is what we are. There's so many slacktivists out there upset about what's going on in the world, but not many of them are willing enough to get up out of their seat and stop swiping and copying and sharing to do anything about it. And we're already far too gone into all of this to make it think that it's ever just gonna like not stop being like this. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The old ways are gone, the new normal is here, and this is how they're going to control us from now on. But as I said, I don't really know what the future lies in terms of being vaccinated, chipped and pinned and so forth. But back in the alien agenda on Wednesday night, I suggested rather, and a couple of folks here, I know Devil Speak and William, who's not here this evening, they had a little bit of a eye-opening moment when I suggested that if you can call in War of the Worlds, the Martians invaded, pretty much destroyed the majority of civilization and mankind, cast aside all modern technology and weaponry that humanity had to throw at the Martians, decimated most of the westernized world, only to fall succumb to Earth germs. Is the COVID Earth's defense system against the fake alien invasion? Are they going to use the alien invasion? They're going to come, depopulate, blow up a few major cities around the world, and then all of a sudden drop dead of fucking COVID, and they say, oh, well, it's the Earth germs that killed the Martians. Lucky for us. But in order to be a stronger, secure society, we should all get the vaccine. That way we'll be stronger than the aliens when they come back to arrest us. So, as I said, contemplate that for a minute. Sounds ridiculous. Absolutely bizarre. But so is the thought that fucking aluminum pellets can penetrate 3-4 blocks of solid steel structures, and then a little bit of jet fuel and fucking IKEA office furniture can bring down solid steel structures in perfect controlled demolition fashion. And not only that, disintegrate everything above a certain height of the floor into dust that then distributed and dispersed across lower Manhattan. As I said, if they told you before the events of September 11th that would happen, you don't, that can't happen, it's impossible. But they spurred us a lie, they fed us a lie, and we believed the lie, or many believed the lie, and not so many people did. But as I said, outlandish as it sounds, fiction prepares us for our reality. As you keep saying, Cali, that it's a socialist state already, and what's California going to do about this socialist state exactly? Is it going to stand up and oppose it? I'm going to see if I can plug my computer in. That is very bizarre. Very, very bizarre indeed. Sorry about that if I was giving you a little bit of my belly. Perhaps I unplugged it. Yeah, that's what happened. I kicked it out. So there's nothing major to worry about then. I thought maybe my artificial buddy was coming after me because I always have my computer plugged in. And this is it. They've been programmed to probably support it. Kali Ninja, a little bit sort of, you know, state to state. They can control the minds of the masses using their television masts and radio broadcasts, and this is what they've been doing for years. It is Tinfoil Hat Conspiracy Theory 101. So we're down to 9 folks, guys, so I'm guessing there are other things that are more interesting elsewhere. It has been a long stream. If or not you guys enjoyed it, I don't know, but we're going to be trying to wrap this up, I guess, in the next 9 minutes, around 2 hours 45. That is a pretty good average stream time. I do try to give you 2 hours minimum of these streams. But as I said, guys, that was a little bit of my attempt for Friday Night Variety. Still not seeing if there's any comments other than Nancy. You are exempt from these kind of, what am I looking for? Not petitions. When you go, like, they get you in and, like, testing stuff. What's the word I'm looking for? You know, like, hey, try this new soda, let you know what we think about it. Why can't I think of that word? Maybe my mind's being fried. But I do need to get a little bit of rest, I think, and some shut eye. I do feel a bit knackered, as we say back in England. Kaz, the Yanks won't have a clue what knackered means. And Kaz, I'm going to ask you, because you're from England and you know this. In America, you know what the Liam Perrins is, right, Kaz? I'm guessing you do. Liam Perrins sauce. In America, they call that Worcestershire. And Americans think they're all very smart and clever when they can say Worcestershire sauce. But if you're from England, you know it's pronounced Worcester sauce. So there you go, you Americans that think you're smart because you can say Worcestershire. It's actually pronounced Worcester. Now, I didn't write or create the English language, and even though it is spelt and looks like it is Worcestershire, it is pronounced Worcester. Is that right, Kaz? Worcester sauce, not Worcestershire, but Worcester sauce. There you go. Not just me saying that. A fellow Brit is also confirming that it is pronounced Worcester. So bear that in mind, Americans, Worcester. But you also found it was funny that, like, they have things like bread and butter pickles here, and it is a little bit strange, I know, for American food and English food, because we both speak the same language and we're both so familiar, certainly in England, with American TV shows and movies and stuff. But when you do come and live here, Kaz, or spend time, a lot of time here, you really do kind of realize it is a very foreign country from that of England. Don't let the fact that we share a same language, and that is the thing. Like, nobody speaks American or Canadian. Canadians speak English and Americans speak English. But bread and butter pickles, they're kind of like a sweet pickle. You kind of get the soury or spicy or sort of, you know, very flavorful ones, but they're like a sweet pickle, if that helps you understand what bread and butter pickles are. There's no bread and butter in them at all. I don't know really why they're called bread and butter pickles, but they are the best of the pickles. You can also get bread and butter corn and bread and butter peaches. Who gremlins? Well, something funny about the English language is, let me just draw you an example. Phonetically isn't even spelt phonetically. The word phonetically, that is. You should hear a French Canadian. I can imagine, in Worcestershire sauce, which, funny enough, I do as default have started saying. Sometimes I've been in the kitchen, sometimes you ask for Worcester sauce, people like look at you, and even though you kind of try to explain it to fellow cooks, and a lot of time these fellow cooks don't speak English and are often from Bangladesh for some reason. But I have sort of, although I still sound English, I've got more of a North American vocabulary than I once did, Mrs. L. But occasionally, somebody the other day asked me for some British cusses. Can you give me some good British cusses? And all of a sudden, like, once I could roll them off without thinking, and I'm like, what would a good English cuss be? And in the end, I come up with bellend and spannerhead and wank spanner. No, it's called tomato. We call it either tomato. See, tomato. I say tomato now, Kaz. We call it tomato sauce or tomato ketchup. In England, they think something American, like, for example, in McDonald's in England, when they have, like, Taste of the USA month that they used to, I don't know if they still do, but it was like, you know, the New York burger, the Texas burger, the California burger, the, I don't know, other fucking town burger, wherever that they think. But they also had cheese and bacon, like the New York burger with cheese and bacon, the Texan burger with cheese and bacon and barbecue sauce, the California burger with cheese and bacon and ranch. And that's how we Americanize things in England. We had cheese and bacon. Wanker, tosser, knob jockey, ass bandit, anal intruder, rectal inspector. And it is all marketing. All marketing. What do you like, Nancy? What do you like? The bread and butter, Worcestershire, or the English American translation? Piri piri, artist is more artisan. Yeah, that's always like, for me, a good restaurant is somewhere where you still get mayonnaise. A wanker, fucking pretentious up their own arse restaurant, call it aioli. Oh, would you like some garlic aioli on your quinoa bun with your Beyond Meat burger? Your fucking quinoa aioli. Anyway, guys, 10 people watching now. 2 hours 42 minutes. I do got a big box of food that my mum sent me from England. There's a little bit of a winter Christmas hamper that she said I could open before Christmas and enjoy these things. I could show you if you really wanted to see some English food items that aren't really that interesting at all and aren't pantry or anything related. But if you really were interested, I could pull something. It's good to see you too, Jasper. We have missed you, buddy. I was wondering where some of you went, and often we think, time, I've got nothing else to do really. Kaz, as I said, I was sort of gonna wrap this up in the next couple of minutes, but if or not, we were just talking about British things, and I did remember that I mentioned that during the thing. Giggles wants to see waiting for my Soylent Green here. Well, funny enough, not long ago they and when I did upload it at the time, I had to edit it heavily. My Soylent Green is here. We're living in a Soylent Green society, which was about 3 or 4 days into the fucking pandemic. I uploaded that, and now it's been deleted. And I did see somewhere that they're talking about there will be plant-based meat products for people during the coming food shortage in the United States. Make of that what you will. In another stream. Well, that is something actually I could do, is save it for Sunday, thinking about it, because I don't really know what I have in planned for Sunday night as of yet. I was going to sort of try and maybe incorporate shitty cards and maybe a little bit of variety, but again, still don't know if anybody really enjoyed it enough to bother, because it does take, it seems like, in principle from my side, when I put it together, it's easy. All I've got to do is make like four 30-minute episodes and then one 1 hour episode, and then I've got a 3-hour show. But coming down to it, sort of, you know, for example, that little bit of the end there on the Georgia, I was going to say Tavistock, Georgia Guidestones, you know, that took nearly 2 hours of the 4 hours that I had to put it all together before we went out live tonight. But as I said, it was a little bit rushed, and maybe that was what had happened, something with the editing, put some of the news, some of the music out of sync. But it was done a little bit rushing on the fly, and as I said at the beginning of the week, I thought I've got a week to throw it together, not a problem, no worries. And even though I had a couple of stuff already planned and recorded for tonight, the burger stuff was shot on Monday. I'm like, well, there you go, there's almost an hour's gone already before I've started. But as I said, we can try and put something together. I don't think for this Saturday, but I could maybe do a little bit of the hamper unboxing and put a short video together and incorporate on Sunday night. Or that being said, we might even cancel Sundays, depending on how tomorrow goes. Well, unfortunately, we've still, well, it's not unfortunately, we still have 10 people watching, but during these last 3 streams, haven't managed to sort of get the dizzying heights of 20 viewers that we did a couple of times during 2 weeks of tea, or maybe if or not we sort of lost a little bit of momentum and interest by stopping for a couple of days, but I do need a little bit of a weekend, and after 2 weeks of streaming each and every day and sort of putting 10 hours or more a day into the recording, editing and presenting process, it did pay a little bit of a toll on me. Soylent Green, well, Soylent Green for me is up like, I got sort of like the Watchmen, Soylent Green, Logan's Run, and I put those all up there with 1984 and A Brave New World and The Shape of Things to Come by H.G. Wells, all books from the 1800s and early 1900s that predicted the society that we're living in. And again, during that time travel trilogy we did as part of 2 Weeks of Tea, we suggested that maybe people from the future, or if time travel did exist, then maybe people went back to those periods and hear H.G. Wells write this book. Doesn't make sense, but it will one day. And got something for you. Hold on, George Orwell. Here, there's some files. Write those books. Makes sense in 100 years' time. Thank you, Baby Pete. That's good. ATN, there's already a bunch of Soylent Green factories. In fact, in the video that I put up, I featured about Soylent Green. I featured the factory, and funny enough, last year I did put I think Soylent Green was a movie I had about 6 videos on that I talked about, reference before all of the COVIDian times come, and especially at the dawn and rise. The first thing I thought of when I heard Beyond Meat products was, fuck me, Soylent Green. Because that's what they told us. It was an ocean-based plankton protein, a little bit like the plant-based protein they're telling us is in Soylent Green. And Soylent Green, the opening lines of the movie: street prohibited to unauthorized personnel, street prohibited to unauthorized personnel. What are now? We're in lockdown, streets are prohibited, you're only allowed out for certain purposes. The Soylent Green dreaming on a COVIDian day. I went for a walk, all the people wear masks, and their brains are fried, I'm trying my best to freestyle and ad-lib Devil Speak. It's not great, but that was just off of the initial thing. But yeah, and I also had a few videos on Logan's Run. If I'm not, some of you longer time thrift storians will remember those. But Logan's Run, Soylent Green were movies I did talk about a lot in relevance of where we are going. And of course, Logan's Run, the OG chipping pin. You had your little red disc in your hand, and you're only allowed to live to 30 under a dome. Don't go outside, it's dangerous. It's for your own safety that you live inside the dome. Whatever you do, don't go outside. It's for your own safety. And depopulation as well. They didn't let people live over 30. They also didn't let people breed in Logan's Run. All babies in life were created in a lab, and every single baby that was born, a little bit like Brave New World, was programmed for purpose. If you remember, they all kind of had different color dresses. The gorgeous Jenny Agata, oh my goodness, that was a little bit of a tug material, and you know what I mean when I say tug material, boys. Back in the days of VHS, when she got a little bit wet and clingy, when they found that like it was kind of like Google, I guess, or the cloud. There was this robot that knew absolutely everything. Terrible special effects. Looked like a couple of fucking cardboard boxes with a bit of tinfoil wrapped around it, but it was a robot that kind of knew everything, and a little bit like Google, I guess. And also Logan's Run predicted Tinder, if you guys can remember. It was, I think, you know, there was a carousel when they went to renew, but there was also a scene where the people could put themselves onto carousel, and they were holographic images, and there was a picture of the guy Logan. He was in his bedroom and he's swiping all the people, and then when he got to Jenny Agata, he selected her and she turned up and they got their funk on. Tinder predicted in Logan's Run in 1976, and he did. That was what he did. He was swiping, and the people come by in a holographic imagery. Soylent Green dreams are made of these. Who would? Oh, we're having a Soylent Green. That's the Eurythmics, I'm guessing. Soylent dreams are made of this. Who in their mind would eat babies? Just trying to go along that, 'cause that's where the human part comes from. The embryos, again, the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, working hand in hand, provide abortions, and hey, food division, do you want some of this stuff? See what you can do with it. Maybe make some food colorings out of these unwanted fetuses. Waste not, want it. How about you, McDonald's? You want some of this for your McNuggets? I know I don't really eat McDonald's very often, but sometimes there's just a little bit of guiltiness about it. Maybe that is the human in the beef. You know, maybe some of those undocumented workers at the McDonald's butchering plant fall in the machine. Well, funny enough, Mars. Will there be life on Mars? That will be something to remember for tomorrow, guys. Watchmen special. Now, I'm almost certain that we're not going to get very many people tuning into that. But The Watchmen, as I said, guys, is one of my most prophetic pieces of literature and fiction ever. And for me is up there with Orwell's 84, but many people, unlike Orwell's 1984, are very unaware of The Watchmen. The chances of anything coming from Mars, Jasper, were 1,000,000 to 1, but still they come. And I don't know if anyone cares. I'm pretty sure you are aware of Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds. The chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1, he said. But in that song, David Essex, was it David Essex? Yeah, it was David Essex. He was the artilleryman. Phil Lynott was the parson, but David Essex sung a song, A Brave New World. I need water. Hold on. I'm getting a little bit cotton mouth, that's why. But can you remember, and it's in the book as well, Defo, and yes, David Essex sung a song, A Brave New World, and he started digging tunnels underground, although he didn't really get very far, and according to Richard Burton's narration, he had only dug 6 feet, and Richard Burton's character in the musical version of War of the Worlds could have dug more in a day. But the lyrics to that song, with just a handful of men, we'll start all over again. We'll start all over again with just a handful of men in a brave new world. Brave new world. A brave new one world, perhaps, after the alien invasion. Brave New World. We should probably do a whole episode on War of the Worlds. And William did find out from me, actually, that we can listen to the original unedited version of War of the Worlds as part of public domain, so no copyrights. So something I've really wanted to do is maybe we can have a group listen, and we can listen to Orson Welles' psychological operation dramatization of War of the Worlds, where he read it as a real-time news event, and many people listened to it, thought it was real. Canadian McDonald's tastes different. Yes, it does. A little bit. Like the fries definitely taste different for some reason, and also in England it tasted different to it does in the States, as does many things that taste different in the States. I'm glad you mentioned that, Jasper, because a little bit like we did the Alien Agenda on Wednesday night, I'm thinking that next Wednesday, when we come back and start the TspTv week, we start with the Hollow Earth and the Antarctica story, because it's all a little bit connected, and it will also lead us to the Iron Sky movies and the Nazi war machine and the Dark Side of the Moon, which will lead me into Wednesday. So that's what I got planned for you next week. We are halfway through this first week of the new year of TspTv. We are in year 3, newly improved, new look. And if or not you like it, I think you do. But as I said, if or not, this is of preference. This is the way forward. This is the way things are now. And as I said, I'm trying to come at you 5 nights a week with a regular and scheduled time, and trying to give you a little bit of themed content, and try and sort of mix and match that up, but try and sort of blend it in a little bit. Good stuff, Jasper. I believe there are giants in Antarctica. Yeah, well, there's lots of ancient giant theories, and even my mum, who's very, very crazy Christian religious, also kind of told me about ancient giants and stuff. And talking of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, recently as we were, you know, the big devil's, is it Devil's Point or Devil's Tower? Devil's Tower, I think it's called. There's believed to be a giant tree, and it's like this tree stump, and there's some sort of ancient acropolyptic buildings that kind of have like huge steps, like about 15 feet tall. It's like, who the hell was climbing up these? But never eaten a Mackie D. Sometimes, you know, it's like a dirty hooker. Sometimes you've got to have a little bit of guilty pleasure, and it is Get Devil's Tower, right? They do put a lot of sugar in everything, and they actually put a lot of corn syrup in it recently. And again, during the 1985 Decoded, I suggested, what did they put in New Coke? Because if you remember the New Coke campaign, they went all big. Coca-Cola's new flavor, new formula, everything new about Coke. And then after 8 weeks, they scrapped it, took it off the shelves, can't get it. Did they put something in New Coke that caused depopulation or sterility in people? In another interesting piece of fiction that came out, although I really didn't enjoy watching it, it's a very uncomfortable show and very awkward, and tried to be far cooler than it was, and try to be a little bit Quentin Tarantino-y, was Hunters. I can't remember who put it out, Amazon, and it's kind of a little bit like Inglorious Bastards, but set in the 70s, and they're also, again, comic book nerds. It's all about comic book nerds. Stranger Things, Goonies, E.T., all these people, comic book nerds. But it was set in the 1970s, and it's about this like secret organization and this secret vigilante squad, I guess, for want of a better word, that hunts down former Nazi war criminals. But the head of it is played by Al Pacino. But it kind of basically, the cool part of it that they didn't pay enough attention to while they were trying to be cool while not being cool, was it was a little bit about Operation Paperclip, and it was all about how the Nazi war criminals after the war kind of infiltrated America and set up the Fourth Reich within the militarized industrial complex, something I talk a great deal about. And this is kind of how the Fourth Reich is operating now in organizations like Big Pharma, in organizations like Power, you know, PG&E, in organizations like the United Nations. The Fourth Reich is waiting to happen. And if you remember in that Agenda 2030 little bit that we saw in the Project Thrift Store at the end of that presentation for you tonight, they were talking about how Germany has to play its part in their campaign for sustainable development. But yeah, the back to the Hunters as well. Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked there. But Hunters, the secret of the Fourth Reich and how they're going to depopulate and poison people was with fructose corn syrup. And like throughout the series, you kind of see this secret lab with white coats and some of these Nazi sympathizers that are now scientists and part of United States corporations and governmental agencies are plotting and planning something out. And at the very, very end of that series, you kind of see, okay, here it is. And you're sort of waiting for it to be like a poison or a virus or a bacteria. And then it turns out to be fructose corn syrup. But as I said, we've gone a little bit way longer than I expected. We've gone to the 3-hour mark now. Well, look at that. Best laid intentions and all. But we will be wrapping up, I guess, guys, because we do got to come back tomorrow at 9 p.m. So hopefully you did enjoy, the HEK human embryonic kidney 293 giggles. Yes, PepsiCo for one, use a lot of Pringles supposedly has it in it. Dr. Pepper, any sort of Pizza Hut, I think they're a division of PepsiCo and stuff like that. High jump, yes, that's where we're going on Wednesday night. But as I said, tomorrow we've got Watchmen. But I do try to sort of tease you, hopefully give you a little bit of insight and information of what's to come, and hopefully that will give you some interest and want to tune in again. 9 p.m. Eastern every night. We start now, Wednesday through to Sunday, although I have no idea what Sunday is going to be all about, and if or not we drop Sunday from the schedule, we will see tomorrow or not, because maybe it might be a nice idea to sort of give myself an extra day. But 5 nights a week is the aim at the minute, and we hopefully will see you again tomorrow. So at that point, I think, guys, I'm gonna roll over, get the outro into place. There it is. Let me turn off the camera, and we will be... Oh, I didn't do it. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, and we will get ready to roll out. So baby Pamplin, you are still there. We are down to double digits. This is going to drive me a little bit crazy now, because I don't like sort of odd numbers like 30147. I do try my best in this, a little bit of an anal OCD thing, but never mind, guys, who cares? We'll see you tomorrow again at the thrift store at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. If you're in the UK, you figure that out for yourself, Kaz. If you've got an alarm clock, you're doing a fine job of turning up on time as you are. You don't need me to do that. But thank you all of those that have stuck with it and stayed tuned tonight. And as I said, we'll see you tomorrow. As always, it's a shit video production for TspTv, and this was the first TspTv Varietee Friday, and we will see you tomorrow at 9, where we look at The Watchmen and decode the secrets within the pages of Alan Moore's classic graphic novel. Till then, guys, take care, keep it thrifty, and remember, be excellent to each other.